Politics.
Yes.
We said after the Bertie stuff, we're not going near any politics again until a couple of months later. You decided to do a couple of series on Michael Collins and Eamon de Valera.
That's not politics.
It is.
That's history.
It is.
Now, to be
the history of our political leaders.
Yeah, to be fair, I think we said we wouldn't do any politics until the presidential election, which is now.
That's fair.
Yeah, we did a lot because it's. I'm sure there's some term for it in politics circles, but they've. You got all of them. You've got the full smorgasbord of politicking within the last.
Sounds delicious.
2 years, year and a half, a referendum, local elections, general elections, and presidential.
Yeah,
that's like the lining up of the planets. That doesn't happen very often. But
if you believe in such a thing,
yeah. So that's where we are now. They're about to switch over the president again.
Yeah,
we've grown up in a time of Michael.
No, there's still time to scrap the vote and scrap the whole thing. That's what a lot of people are calling for.
Yeah, a lot of bots. I don't know. Maybe a lot.
I think there's a lot of people as well.
A lot of people saying for to spoil the vote.
Eddie Hobbs was saying spoil the vote, or else that was an AI video I saw of Eddie Hobbs.
Eddie Hobbs he's mad.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I thought he
went off and he formed their own institute, or not the own institute.
That's
but
not true.
You know, he started into, didn't he, or one of them parties, and then left. Oh, it turns out that grifter from the fucking Celtic Tiger times who just, went right up to the line of the bubble and was wrong and was part of the claps.
And you just never saw him again. Really.
No, you did. He pivoted. Yeah, he pivoted to just...
He stopped doing RTE shows telling lads to spend less and save more.
Yes.
That was the big deal. It was like, John's 28 years of age. He has 40 grand in the bank. He's been working a 9 to 5 for the last couple of years, but he doesn't have enough to buy a house in Ireland. What could he do? And he was like, stop enjoying yourself in any way possible.
Yeah.
Save every cent. And will that get me a house? It won't, but it'll make for a great TV show.
Have you thought about emigrating, John?
What is that? A 4-pack of Heineken in the fridge come a Friday. That's the reason you're going to be renting well into your 40s.
But I live at home, Eddie. Oh, God. Yeah, no, he went straight. To be fair, he got there. He was ahead of the curve on that one. He did get into the right-wing Christian grift quite a while ago. But then I think he left the party for differences. But now he's back telling people to spoil the vote.
Spoil the vote.
Hashtag spoil the vote.
Which, would he have much of a pull in that the younger generation? Like, we'd be on the tail end of people who'd remember him.
It's hard to know because this is the cycle we've gone through the last while. Well, for the general and the local elections, there's an awful lot of noise in the lead up to it, and it's like, oh, here comes the big right wave, and everyone's talking online, and there's loads of that, and then, they get fuck all votes. But then the next time, oh, yeah, it's real, and everyone's drawing really there, and then nothing. And this year was, oh, McGregor, he's going to get in. He's bloody going to vote him in, and fuck it. And then, no. Like, it's mostly...
I know, but also, having said that...
Yeah, this time it's real. This time for real.
I can watch your back.
Maria Steen's getting in somehow.
Yeah. God, if she just didn't wear the bag.
No, that was already after. She was already on the way out.
Oh, that was her not conciliatory speech, but she was kind of just still giving out about how I'm not.
You would have Maria Steen to kick around anymore. Now, we've gotten way ahead of ourselves.
But I will say, the amount of people I've talked to who have not looked at a single debate, they've not listened to a single thing, but they've told me, geez, that Maria Steen one... I have talked to a lot of people that
Who
were
are you
like,
talking to?
Oh, I can't be giving to Joey Edwards.
Big Maria Steen fan.
Yeah. No, I've talked to a surprising amount of people who don't be following anything at all. And they're like, do you know who I liked? Her. And
she had her head on her shoulders.
Yeah. You get a lot of people who go like, I like people like Maria Steen, Nick Delahanty.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that out there.
Crime feels awful legal at the minute. Funny there was a strong... Nick Delahunt. Well, listen, I don't know who this podcast is for. The election's on Friday. It's a presidential election. We do them every 7 years. They're great fun. They are very intense.
It's the chance for, it's like a Netflix miniseries where it's like, now we have a couple of weeks where we're going to watch and care about this.
Yeah.
And then we're going to forget about politics again until about a month or two before the next big election. And then we're all going to pretend like we care a lot. Apart from, some people do. Go listen, if you want constant politics news, go listen to Celtic Ligers.
They're constantly putting stuff out about politics. I was listening to the Irish Politics podcast, the Irish Times Politics podcast there again, and they're just filling time, which is a rich statement from the start of this episode. But because I was listening to the last episode they put out, and they were saying that because at the minute Catherine Connolly is well in the lead in the polls. And they were saying that, she had the benefit of, she's been around she's put her name out a couple of months ago, so she's been there. And that means all the criticism didn't come at once, and it gave her a lot of time to dodge and duck, and maybe that's played to her benefit. It's like, that's so stupid.
No one was paying attention until a couple of weeks ago.
But that's the exact same thing. That's the reason that everyone else has dropped out, is because they've been around for too long.
Well, that's what a lot of people were saying.
But I guarantee in about a week, when Catherine Connolly wins the Irish Time Politics, they'll be like, well, we always knew. I mean, it's not their fault. They have to put out a load of podcasts. This is their... Obviously, in the lead up to an election, they have to put out more episodes, and they need to keep the dialogue going. They need to keep the discussions. Maybe, it could happen. And then as soon as it's all done, they'll be like, well, we knew about 2 months ago she was going to win.
Yeah.
But we still had to put out 17 episodes. So we'll just say stuff like, actually, being around for longer with more time in the press, it's a benefit.
Yeah. Because people had said that the reason why Sinn Féin weren't running a candidate was like, it's going to come late. At the very last second, look towards the west.
Yeah, on the third day, look to the east. But
they said the reason that was going to happen was because they were like, it'll be less time for dirt to be thrown at them.
Yes.
They'd be like, that makes no sense, because 2 days into your candidacy, people have dirt on everyone possibly running, and it's just about when you're going to drop that in.
Yeah.
It was do you want to start with? We have 3 people. We've got
yes. Well, let's go back to the beginning. We'll go back to the beginning. A couple of months ago, Gareth Sheridan, he was the big...
we'll get all the people who didn't make it onto the final.
Yeah.
The also rans. The never rans.
This is... I don't know who this
They weren't
is for.
allowed to run.
This is for our international listeners, maybe, who are looking in at this presidential... Maybe they don't even know we're having it.
There's loads of people who
Loads of people at home.
Yeah.
Yeah. A couple of months ago, Gareth Sheridan popped out of nowhere.
Pharma King.
And a lot of the far right accounts that I like to follow, they were convinced this is the state. They were like, "Oh, game's over. It's July 2025. Here's the new president." They've plopped this fella out of nowhere, and the loony left bloody love him. Big pharma, that's what they love. As he said,
he's an agricultural man. No, actually, different type of farm.
Yeah, big farming. Game's over. They won't let McGregor join now because this fellow's running. But he was a candidate.
Because he sexually assaulted someone or had the trial of it that year. Slash had no prior experience and also seemed like he didn't really actually want to. He spent half the year on a yacht.
Yes.
Having more allegations thrown at him. And he was like, let me fly into the city, into Dublin, one day, do one of the worst shot campaign videos in front of Leinster House, and then just instantly leave again.
Ireland, as a master of martial combat, a solution-driven man, you will hear me speak on a problem but once. Then it is action towards solution. I urge all our citizens to be of the same. Today, Ireland, I am outside these gates of these appointed officials, but as your head of state, you empower me to enter these buildings on your behalf. A president face-to-face with government officials with only one priority: to ensure that the country our founding fathers gave their life for is strictly adhered to on behalf of its citizens.
I'm pretty sure he left.
Spent most of his time campaigning to fight on the White House UFC card.
Yeah. But because there's 2 types, this is well-trodden territory now, but there's 2 types of McGregor tweets. Ones that are, spelt well and have punctuation and are articulate and forceful and are like quite long, full sentences. And then there's the ones that he writes. And you could see the one. So there's 2 ways to get onto the ballot. You can get put forward by one of the parties, or you can get nominations from, is it 4 different county councils or 20 different Oireachtas members between, the Dáils, so you're looking at independent TDs maybe, or members of the Senate. There's 2 routes to go. And there's a deadline by which you have to submit your applications. You have to go in front of everyone and get interviewed, blah, blah, blah. That starts on the Monday. On the Sunday, he was in America.
Yeah.
Because he released a statement the day that you were meant to be doing the interview saying he's dropping out. So which is... I'm going to give myself the credit. I'm pretty sure I wrote that on Instagram about a year ago or 9 months ago. It's like he's just going to talk shit the whole way up until the end. I thought he would actually have a go at running, but he quit. He quit the day that it was actually meant to start. So he just spent the whole time chatting shit and getting everyone riled up. So what was it all for?
It pushes the major McGregor news story of the year out of the relatively.
That was last year. This year he's kept his head down, snorted an awful lot of coke.
That was this year.
No, that was like November last year.
No, that was,
It's within the last 12 months, but it was
I don't-
2024.
Was it?
What's your watch going to tell you? Hang on a
I'm
second.
wearing a Casio, so it's
Yeah.
like-
It doesn't even have the year.
it's not
on
even
it.
an Apple Watch where you're like, oh, you go check the.
Maybe I'm wrong. I thought that was like late last year.
I don't think so.
Yeah, but you're right. Okay, well,
But
yeah, it's
obviously
within the last
the appeal was
12.
recently.
The
enough,
appeal was
yeah.
this year, yeah. And yeah, but well, even that went right up to the wire where you had like testimony from neighbors who would swear up and down that it was, and then the day of it that got withdrawn as well.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the last couple of months, he's kept the head down, kept the nose clean.
He said
Apart from
he's going to try and fight again, and it's all these things just keep pushing. When you Google his name, it's just pushing all that other stuff further down the Google search results history, and now that's why he's going to be. He's campaigning now for the UFC White House card. But then I think he has to. That thing that happened in Florida was another sexual assault allegation.
Yeah.
That's might go to court now as well, or else it's been brought up in the news. So now he's going to have to do a couple of other crazy things.
Yes.
To get that pushed down again. He punched some lad in Ibiza as well.
He punched him. Yeah, that's what. Even the last couple of months, where he was meant to be
Ibiza.
like Ibiza, and he was also what was it, Kitty Price?
I think that's an old one.
I thought that wasn't the last since as well. But anyway, yeah, he punched you. There's
It's
a video
hard
of him.
to keep track.
It is hard to keep track. That was because the mascot thing obviously came out. Like, everyone in Ireland's kind of heard all the other stuff, but the mascot thing coming out, I think that was the first moment. Maybe some Americans were like, "I'm starting to think this Conor McGregor fella, he's not a nice guy at all. He punched the mascot." But anyway, yeah, maybe it's all just to keep stuff out of the news.
Or he's just mental.
That is also
Nothing else. Nothing else to do. No, he has a lot of time on his hands. He has an awful lot of money, and
never attribute to malice what can be explained by a load of cocaine.
Yeah.
At 4 a.m. Just
the dick pic, the Azealia Banks dick.
that
pic,
was that was another big one. Yeah,
That was as he was already.
that was in between
him announcing his run for presidency. And here's my penis.
that he sent to Azealia Banks, who again another character.
Yeah, not a great person.
No,
But
yeah. What was
But he had Ireland behind her, and we were all like, "Way!" And then just someone showed us some tweets that she'd made about Irish people.
Yeah, I remember that from the time when she was doing a gig in the Three Arena, I think, and she was just like, "Irish women are fucking trolls." She got in a fight with an air stewardess and Ryanair or something, and then went on to the stage in Three Arena and just chatting shit about how ugly we all are. So there's no heroes in that, but yeah, McGregor did send
The enemy of your enemy is also
his
a fucking prick.
Yeah. 212 was a bagger.
It was.
It was a good song. But anyway, we're getting further away from it now. So he was there. Oh, he was a contender.
But we're talking too much about McGregor. What about all the other?
Yeah, so he
mad
was
candidates?
the main. He was probably, I don't know, one of the main candidates in the news for the first half of the year.
Which makes sense because the news have to sell news.
Yes.
So that was a big deal. But realistically, never taken as a serious candidate by the public. And we all knew that he would never get the nomination to go forward with it. So let's move him to one side.
Yeah.
We have Maria Steen, the kind of right.
This is the palatable place of the right. Well, so she came a little bit later, I think, because Garrett Charlton came and went, where he just popped out of nowhere. He ran No, I was going to say it's the same age as us, but this is one of the few rules around the presidency.
35.
You need to be 35. 35 or over. But
Maria Steen was,
yes.
She was seen as a right-sided figure. She wasn't going to get the nomination either, and then she decided to do a video talking about how politicians were out of touch with the common man. But she did all of that while holding a purse from some fancy designer that cost about 15 or 20 grand.
Yes.
And saying that the people who run this country, they don't understand the common man. They don't understand what it's like to be out there on the street holding a deposit for a house worth of a bag.
A Hermès bag. So this is what, I mean, it's been a fun election in so much as we all had to learn about what Hermès bags
What a
are.
Hermès
There's so
bag,
many different bits that come up. They were like, oh, we all have to learn about Assad's regime in Syria. We all have to learn
what Aleppo was.
What Aleppo was.
Aleppo, he
Yeah.
never changes his spots.
But more just like when you're chatting in the pub, all of a sudden on any given weekend, everyone was expert on Syrian, like the Syrian wars of the last couple of years. But to be fair,
I think again because of Gary Johnson in 2016, that was a lot of people. There was a lot.
that's
of
a very
like,
niche
can
reference that you remember, and I remembered for some reason. But you were in America during the time. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think anyone particularly.
here, no.
Well, no, I don't think so.
okay. Because I just remember a lot of I remember being caught by it where people are like, "Can you believe he doesn't know what Aleppo is?" Like,
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Quickly Google what this.
Calippo.
Yeah.
He didn't know one of the most famous ice creams.
Syria.
Yeah.
What?
But yeah, I think that was I don't know if that really made it over here.
Fair.
I mean, I'm sure it's.
I'm out of touch with the common man.
Yeah, in your Hermes bag, be like, can you believe Aleppo? So, and then to be fair, I'm out of touch with the common man as well because I remember seeing the story. So yeah, she gets up and in something that seems like it's from the thick of it, gives a speech about how she was denied. So she tried to go through the Oireachtas route, didn't make it. She got pretty close, but fell short. Maybe she got like 14, 15 out of 20, and went on TV then to say that Ireland, the establishment, the man, is working against her to keep the voice of the common people out. And she did that while wearing or holding, let's just say, garish blue bag. I thought it was pretty nice, to be honest. It's a nice bag.
It's a nice bag.
But it
Turns
cost
15 grand, 20 grand to get you a
10
nice
to
bag.
30 grand. Well, see, it doesn't. So basically the story broke and I was like, Jesus, I wonder who...
She should have
what-
said wish.com or got knock off. Fucking
That's not
got
what-
it on AliExpress.
That's not what she's about. But I thought, what a pull, who's... But apparently a lot of people know what Hermès bags look like.
okay.
And Lisa gave me the full breakdown of it. So apparently it is quite a strange colour and you have to spend a certain amount of money to even get access to the bags. So you have to spend like 10, 20, 30 grand on products from them for you to get on the list to buy a good bag.
Gotcha.
And if you don't spend enough money, so you don't get to choose the color. So if you spend to a certain tier, they'll sell you a kind of, the blue looking one. Whereas if you spend a proper amount of money, they'll give you like a black or a brown one.
Gotcha.
Is my understanding of it.
Oh, right, so she got the cheaper of the. So it's
Yeah,
probably
the
closer
cheaper
to
of-
10 grand.
No, probably it's still 30 grand.
Oh, right.
And that's
It's
only
just the other bags are worth like 100 then.
yeah.
This is like Ferraris or Porsches where
Yes,
you
you need
can't
to-
just buy the one
Yeah,
you
yeah,
want.
yeah. You have to show commitment.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to put the work in. and
You
the money.
gotta waste a lot of money here. before
Oh,
you can have-
yes. So just insanely out of touch to the point where it doesn't feel real. That's what happened. But there we are. And then she released a statement afterwards. So she said the politicians are out of touch with the common people. And then people obviously were like, well, that's a bit stupid. And she came back with a classic line of, the left don't love the poor, they just hate the rich. So
That's a good line.
that's a great line. It's like, yeah, they're fucking, you know what? The politicians in the Dole, they're out of touch with the common man. Me? I know that they don't love the poor, they just hate the rich. So is the big push so she's gone. Another contender thrown out. McGregor gone. he just dropped out himself.
Yeah. Well,
The only other people who got close, I think, were Sheridan, who was just some guy, probably 35, 36, who was involved in pharmaceuticals, big pharma.
Sean Gallagher was not nominated,
Yes.
but he backed him. And I was
Yeah.
like, that's exactly
I like
what
he-
you don't need. You
No.
don't need the man who still has the stink of something he didn't do, like to talk about an old election for a minute.
I think we've covered that, and we've
So,
certainly
we
covered that
have,
in other
yeah.
episodes, but it is very funny.
Yeah, that before RT decided to fact check live debates,
People didn't know it because it was 2011, so people didn't know what Twitter was necessarily.
Yeah, and a tweet came in during the live presidential debate.
Yes.
And someone said that they'd met Sean Gallagher when he was working for Fianna Fáil years ago, and that he'd been given a brown envelope, and that he'd said, he was like, oh, I don't remember that, and if it did happen, I wouldn't have even looked inside of it. I would have just given it to a politician. So I don't know anything about that. And turns out that never happened.
No.
And he went from clear leader.
You could probably see the live track of the votes
Yeah.
just dipping as he was like, brown envelope. And I just probably handed that over a car park,
Yeah.
just all the buzzwords. Because it was like right in the middle of the recession.
A tweet basically gave us Michael D. Higgins for 14 years.
Yes.
delivering a photograph.
Well,
but I can tell you,
that confirms what the gentleman told me.
I can tell you.
He also said that when you arrived at his house, you took away a cheque for €5,000.
That is not correct.
That is not correct?
Absolutely not
Well,
correct.
I think you're in deep, deep trouble.
Well, I'm happy to say that.
Hang on. Let me try and move. I want to try and move on, but I think we can kind of clarify some of the development, which I want to put to Sean Gallagher, on the Martin McGuinness for President Twitter account. Sinn Féin are saying they're going to produce the man who gave you the cheque for $5,000. Now, do you want to change what you said, or are you still saying that it just simply didn't happen? Are they up to dirty tricks, or what?
Well, you know, I've always tried to stay above any negative campaigning, and I understand from a query during the week in one of the newspapers, and when my campaign team sent back the information on the said character, I don't want to cast any aspersions on him.
So you know who it is?
He's a convicted criminal, a fuel smuggler, investigated by the Criminal Assets Bureau and rented the office out to Jerry Adams, Martin's colleague, in the last general election. I don't want to get involved in this. I don't believe...
There's something you can't put your rest out. Did you get a cheque from this guy or not?
Well, I have no recollection of getting a cheque from this guy. I can tell you. Let me explain this very simply.
The man said you went to his house, Sean.
I explained that there were 2 or 3 people that I asked invited. I don't know the man very well that's in question, so...
No, but hang on a second. You're saying that you went around to a fuel smuggler and all sorts of things and invited him to a Fianna Fáil do?
It's also insane that a Fianna Fáil backed candidate got anywhere close to being like right after the recession, or right in the middle of the recession, right after the crash, that he got anywhere near it. Off the back of just vaguely... He was a Dragon's Den fella.
Was that what? He was a businessman, and was he even a politician? Was he?
No,
or was he?
And that's what we didn't want. We're sick of the politicians. We wanted a businessman.
Give us the businessman behind the politicians.
Yes. And one of the standout bits I remember from that, they were arguing about job creation, the job creators, and he had set up a small business. Maybe it was like, I don't know, 20, 30 people working underneath him. And he was like, that's what I put forward. I'm bringing jobs. And that's what I'm going to turn this country around, get everyone back working again. And he put it to Michael D as to what jobs he'd made. He's like, I fucking built TG Cahar. And he taught, hundreds, thousands of people employed over a couple of decades in the arts. And he cut back to Gallagher and he was like, I don't mean those kind of jobs. That's not what we're talking about when I say jobs. When I say jobs, I mean...
For the boys.
For the boys. Selling things that may or may not be real. Remember all the stuff we were selling that got us into the crash? That kind of jobs. Yeah. The sort of lads who'd be selling Sean Quinn, CDFs. The sort of lads who ran Anglo-Irish into the ground. Those kind of jobs. Not fucking best grips and best boys and whatever the hell you've got going on over there. Real honest jobs. And people went with Michael D. And 14 years. Well, 7 years. And then a presidential campaign where a man got a third of the vote. Peter Casey.
Was it a whole third?
Let's see.
People ask me, was it a whole third of the vote? Of course I'm racist.
Peter Casey, who again we've clipped and mentioned a few times, is him standing on the side of that road being like, people say I'm a racist. Of course I'm a racist.
People say to me, oh, you're a racist. Of course I'm a racist. I'm a very proud Irishman.
He did what, 23% of the first preference votes.
Okay, so I thought it was closer. Oh, then it was a third by the second? Or
So by the end, Michael D was on 800,000. He was on 340,000.
Okay, so still nowhere near.
But a big, a turnout of 43% for that one. Yeah, I remember the only complaint, or one of the only complaints, I think there was something he'd written a letter to Castro. People were trying to bring that up.
Oh, Michael D, yeah.
Yeah, one of the only complaints.
Realistically, that was the one where he'd done such a good job for the first 7 years. This is actually a waste of money even running the...
One of the big things people tried to bring against him was that he said he'd only run for one term at the start. And I remember having that argument with people. They're like, well, he did a good job. So, but he lied 7 years ago. So do you want Peter Casey to be in? Yeah. Yes. And listen, and if that's the only thing you can complain about him being there for 7 years, is that he said he'd only be there for 7 years, I think. And it's been a great, subsequent 7 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, no complaints really. Was he up to much? Not really.
Not
He used to
really.
have garden parties in Irish Root Throne. Am I annoyed that we were never invited? Yes.
Yes.
But I don't hold it against him personally.
Have we thought
Politics.
about jumping over that very accessible part?
It's higher than you think.
It's-
I've walked up to the ditch. I've studied it.
Yeah, I've looked at it before.
And I'm not talking about that rag that keeps slating Heather Humphreys. I'm talking about the ditch in Phoenix Park.
that you could probably get over.
Yeah, with a ladder, sure.
Yeah.
But, who's got the time?
Or two lads with a big boost.
Ooh.
Or a Moro, if you would.
There you go. But, he was, But I think he's really dictated what we think of the presidency now.
That's what we
That's
want.
what we want.
Yeah.
Someone who speaks Irish, is eloquent, is on the right side of things. He spoke.
Yeah, not that right side of things. That's
Yeah.
a different. We don't. Turns out we don't want that.
Yeah, because, so those are the candidates that didn't make it. And we'll talk about then the ones that did.
Yes. The 3-horse race.
The 3 horses of the apocalypse. Jim Gavin, Heather Humphreys, and Catherine Connolly. And presidential, and this is the thing that, again, because people need to do podcasts, and people need to sell papers, and RT needs to have debates, and Virgin Media, and everyone needs to talk about it. We all need to hash out the politics of who is going to represent the country as the president. And we're not allowed really mention that they can't do anything.
Yes.
You have to ask them questions about homelessness, ask them questions about the triple lock, ask them about wars in Gaza, ask them about the rise of fascism. Talk about it all.
Yeah.
No, it's irrelevant.
You're going to be shaking hands with.
But who are you going to be shaking hands with? And how hard are you going to shake them? And for how long?
Yeah.
These
Well,
are the real questions.
You're going to be going to hospices.
Yes.
And you're going to be going to primary schools.
Yes.
And you're going to be going to sporting events in Crow Park and the Aviva.
One of the Marys, I can't remember which
How
one.
funny would it look when you're shaking the hand of a 6'7" lock playing for the Irish national rugby team? That's going to be a big factor here now.
That was a factor.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was looking at some of the older presidents. Sean T. O'Kelly, the second president, supposedly also a petite man. I don't know, there was some story from a game in Crow Park. Where he said he threw in the ball. Maybe they used to throw in the Schleicher. Or throw in the ball?
Yeah.
Don't know. Anyway, he
Instead
was
of
there.
the ref, and then you just have to leg it off.
Yeah, but supposedly he was there and someone shouted, "Cut the grass, we can't see the president." Which, who knows if that's true and how you would hear it in a stadium of 80,000 people.
They'd
But
never say that about Michael D.
no, that is funny that someone probably brought that up at some point in the last 14 years as like a killer deep cut reference, and no one even batted an eye, just kept drinking. And he sat in the pub disgusted at the Philistines he'd surrounded himself with. But yeah, I was reading a little bit about him. He was a big drinker, big pint man. Supposedly
Big half pint man.
big, big half pint man. Supposedly he was the one who started the tradition of just having kegs of Guinness on tap in Irish Root Throne.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I say started the tradition. He was the second one in. So yeah,
Do you know what this place could do?
get a bar going.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's very little that they can do. One of the few things. So technically, we spent an awful lot of time talking about old Eamon, the old De Valera. He wrote the Constitution, half blind and with the guidance of the Pope, but not the blessing.
Much like Sean Gallagher.
Was he blind?
I think he was a bit blind, yeah. Or unless he said he never saw those brown envelopes.
Yeah, you didn't see that coming, I guess. But it's a sacred document, handcrafted by Eamon de Valera himself. Because of Eamon's love, graw, for the Irish language, technically, legally, the Irish version takes precedent over the English version. So if there's any dispute about wording, remember like the referendum the other year where everyone was getting really into the weeds and nitty gritty about the women's place in the home, and
Yes.
were like, oh, what does strive technically mean in this context, and is that better than attempt or whatever the wording was? In a way, it was kind of irrelevant because technically it's whatever was written in Irish. Like if you're gonna, people were like, well, strive could be construed to mean these things. Like what's best effort mean? Like that's a bit of a vague term. It's what was written in the Gaelic version that would be the thing that could be fought over if it came to it. So having a knowledge of Irish, like not just knowing it, but like being fluent in it and not being able to understand the difference between, like niche difference between words, is beneficial, which is the thing that's been brought up in this race, in that Catherine Connolly is fluent. As far as I know, she's fluent. She's
she is.
Gaeilgeoir. And I think in some of the debates she's been like, why isn't this in Irish?
Yeah, and she's been throwing out a lot of Irish.
She has been, yeah.
And anytime they ask her, she'll like, just talk for a minute. I'm like, okay, I'm going to make a cup of tea here now. And then she'll start talking in English. I'm like, fantastic.
Great stuff.
And then Heather Humphreys. Well, do you know what? Let's go.
Well, just to finish that point, is like, you know, it is maybe in theory beneficial to have a concrete, because one of the few things you can do as a president is you've got to sign things into, you have the final sign off on the changes to the constitution.
But I mean, that would just basically you have to pass it. Yeah.
Basically, you're sort of the protector of the constitution. Yeah, you basically have to pass it. But having an intricate knowledge of Irish or a deep understanding of it could be beneficial.
Yeah, and so,
but also not really, because in practice that never comes up.
But Connolly had that. She has that in spades.
Yes,
and then or whatever the Gaelic for spades is. But any of the interviews, because I've been catching up with all of them, they've been great.
Yes,
people have said they're boring. I don't know. There was a lot there, and you can the TikTok meme culture, wherever people have it. The youth don't care about these kind of things. But I was like, how have I not seen loads of clips of Jim Gavin's nubbin finger?
That was great.
Pointed at people. Like, how is that not just everywhere?
Yes, Jim. Someone had obviously taught him how to
be a politician.
Be a politician. You gotta make this movement with your hand and punctuate your points, even if it turns out you're not saying anything. I was in the military, and I will be a president. That was about it. Yeah. I don't know why, and this is probably something that I could go to therapy for. I don't know why I felt so sorry for him. Like, nothing about...
I don't think that's the only thing you go to therapy for.
Well, listen, I'm a busy man. Yeah. But it's a funny... Like, I don't know why. And that was a general thing I heard people say. That people felt sorry for him. And so basically, right, let's give his story very quickly, because we've been...
Yeah, let's go one by one. We'll go Jim Gavin
Go
first.
through him, because he's the funniest one. And you're right, because everyone's saying, oh, this is boring. Oh, you know, the presidential election is pretty boring. This is like box office stuff.
Class.
This is such a funny story. We whoever's doing this version of the podcast in 10 years will... I mean, us, our children will do this story. How a presidential campaign from Fianna Fáil, like... I said this during the Dev stuff, they're the default leaders of this country. You know, there was a time when all the stuff we talked about, all the elections during the Dev era, they're just getting like 50-60% of the vote because they're there. The first presidential runs, people are like, maybe Dev should just do it. You know, he's been around for a good while. Like, it's hard to express how on top they were. We've grown up during the sunsetting era of Fianna Fáil.
Because they're now down to, is it about 20?
They're having to get into bed with Fine Gael.
Yeah. Doubling up, going with their enemy. They've managed to still come in at like about 60% of what they were, within our lifetime.
So it's like such a fall from grace. But now, this is like even more embarrassing. The Fianna Fáil candidate has dropped out before the race is even finished.
It's embarrassing to start with the fact that the party didn't want him.
Yes.
And that they wanted someone within the party, someone with experience as a politician. If you're going to run as a Fianna Fáil candidate, someone who's in somewhat tied, has some past history with the Fianna Fáil and the party. So instead of that, Micheál Martin listened to everyone, gave everyone their chance, listened to everyone, and then went, no, I have got a guy in mind.
Yep.
And then let's go to a vote. And then him and Jack Chambers supposedly spent multiple days. Jack Chambers, who was running Jim Gavin's campaign in the midst of budget coming out that everyone was going to be pretty fucking annoyed about.
He can do both tasks.
Yeah. He's a man in finance.
Yeah. But that's a trident. You know, Charlie Higher runs Dev's campaign. Bertie ran Brian Lenihan's campaign. It seems to be like that's a... Yeah, but that and being Minister for Finance are the two Fianna Fáil. That's the grooming set.
Just have a different person do it. Just have if you're meant to be in charge of the budget.
Oh, do you not think you had the time to do a really, really terrible campaign for Jim Gavin, get him out on the farm, and also fuck over the squeezed middle class in the budget? He can do both.
In that sense, actually, fair play to Jack.
Pretty easy job. Yeah, it's not an election year. You can do you can really phone the budget in the year after. You know, after fucking COVID, after the cost of living crisis, after all that stuff going on, if you still get voted into power, you can really phone next year's budget in.
Yeah.
I don't think anything bad's going to happen.
Well, we knew once the one-off payments were going to be a thing, we were like, oh...
They said they were there to stay.
But, he decided not to do either of those jobs well. And while he was doing... while he was messing up the budget, he was also in charge of Gavin's campaign, but in the lead-up to that, seemingly the couple of days before the Fianna Fáil Ardèche, that they were calling everyone in the party, begging them threatening.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but
No.
telling everyone you
Yeah.
have to vote for this guy. We need it. We really. And it was like people were saying, I haven't had a phone call from Micheál Martin in about 3 years.
Yeah.
And then he was calling me nearly every day.
But
and then it came down. They did the vote. It still passes, but 41-29 when the head of the party is individually calling everyone saying you have to do this, and he's still he's not. It's not barely passing, but that's pretty weird. Like that's not good. It should be.
But I hate all that because so many that now.
If there was 10 dissenters, you'd be like, okay, there.
But when his campaign went up in flames, and then all the Fianna Fáil people were like, "And Micheál Martin, I didn't want to vote for him, but he rang me, and he asked me to, and so I had to." Like, show a bit of fucking. Is that all it takes for you to?
But that, I think
if you're against something.
But it shows that there's 29 people inside the party.
It shows that they have no principles. They're like, he rang me and asked me, so I did it.
Yeah, but
And
I mean, we don't know what
know.
pressure was put on or whatever, or if there was. But but the idea that there's 29 dissenters within the party against 41, and 41 is the Chambers
Sure.
and Martin, all the actual cabinet members. Whatever you're going like, right there.
Well, don't take that for granted because what's the famous Bertie line of like. When Albert Reynolds was going in, and he showed him his name. It was like, "Well, I voted for you." So, well, that means once you show that, that means you're fucked.
But I would still say that you're probably taking on like the Micheál Martin's close interpersonal circle within the party.
Yeah.
Is you're taking probably 10 to 20 people instantly.
Sure,
maybe more. So realistically, it's probably 50-50, if not swinging more between the backbenchers and everyone. It's a majority of people are going against. Which is just very interesting.
It is.
So you can see why this is a shit show when it all came out afterwards. So Gavin starts running the campaign. It starts by running in a park and doesn't get the clearance for a drone to follow him around as a part of a campaign video. He had said, him and Jack Chambers came out. It was him and Chambers running around. And they came out and said, we didn't even see it. It turns out that it was part of the campaign.
It was just there, flying around, capturing aerial shots of two men out.
How could I see it? It was at eye level directly in front of me. How would I be able to see such a thing?
Where'd you get the footage to add into your ad campaign? Someone just sent it to me.
Yeah, and then also his career up until then, 2 careers. One, GAA player for Dublin football team, then a manager for Dublin that brought him, is it 5 All-Irelands?
Yeah, 5 in a row, 6 in a row.
Or is it 6 out of 7? Whatever it may be, but we're not GAA men.
A hell of a run.
At least 5 All-Irelands. Untold success. So they thought, army man.
Yep.
Yeah, so he was in the defense forces. He's a pilot. He's in the Air Force kind of side of it. So he does those two. You're an army man. You're a military man who's a leader in the military. And you're a GAA man. Great success. And he also, something that people were talking about a lot was the fact that he got the new rules brought in.
Oh, that's true.
So he was in charge of that,
which
everyone's enjoyed that. That's actually that is fair play.
They should have hammered that point more.
They tried. They really did try.
Okay.
But then a lot of people were like, "That's still not." Well, it is politics.
Yeah.
And he was like, "It's a north and south divide." Come on now. That's pushing that a bit far, but. The new rules have been class, and he managed to get overwhelming support for it and got everything changed. And now the Gaelic football, it's actually interesting to watch. I'm not going to give out about it anymore. It's fun. I've been watching games. First time in years. It's class.
It's great.
We went to games.
We did. Leinster Championships. You know what? I'm voting Jim.
Get him back in.
Because as we've alluded to a few times, he has dropped out. But because he left it so late, he's
on the ballot.
Not dropped out at all.
He's on the ballot.
He's still on the ballot. You can still vote for him. But anyway, so he's first mess up. The drone. And this all seems very parochial. But the presidential race is like purist politics. The same sort of stuff that like would never take a politician down will ruin your chances of being a president.
Yes.
Like, this is the sort of story that someone would call into Joe Duffy and be forgotten about in a day.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that he didn't get clearance for drone, that's pretty small.
But you need to be squeaky clean for this. And it's also, it's not about the drone, it's about how you handle it afterwards. Him saying that I didn't even see it.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was. And like just fobbing it off and lying, basically.
Yeah.
That doesn't look great.
Let's stick in the clip now of the news story from Brian Lenihan's. Does the President of Ireland need to tell the truth? If so, then Brian Lenihan might be in trouble. You ever see it? That's like the reeling in the ears news clip from that day.
Good evening. Does it matter that presidential candidates tell the truth? If it does, then Fianna Fáil has a problem.
Yeah, it's about how you handle the scandal. Even though that's a very small scandal. Yeah, that's the first
Really
one.
bad. And
Followed up by...
real quick, there was the when he was questioned on I forget which one now, was the Virgin Media one, or was it on RT on Week in Politics, but they'd asked him about did you ever see any it's not quite sexual assault, but any of the stuff that went on in the army, the reports that came out that said that women were being mistreated, and there was a lot of horrible stuff going on.
In the way, after the Crotty case.
And he came out and he'd said that I've never seen any woman mistreated in the army.
Yeah.
I don't, this is all ridiculous. He's like, no, not at all. And then we're like, well, while you were in charge, there was multiple reports done. So did you read those reports?
Yeah.
And it's like, because they all said without fail that yes, this is terrible.
Yes.
And what's going on? And he's like, I never saw anything bad ever happen. Nothing bad happens
That
to
drone
women in the
was
army.
just there. I didn't even see the drone.
So that was another big mark against him, especially when the other when you're going up against two women who are both going, we speak out for women, and it's especially in the last couple of years.
Well, when was that Crotty case? Was that in the last year?
Yeah,
Or
but
a little
but
bit
this
further
stuff
on?
is you're talking 20 years ago.
Oh yeah. But it's in kind of the zeitgeist the last while of
Yeah, so that was another bad look for him. And then there's a lot of these bits dropping out, and people were like, I'm not sure about this.
But
fella.
then he brings it back. Gavin on the farm. That was his comeback moment. Because sure, he's got the Dublin vote in his pocket, being the king of Dublin GA. Naturally, everyone who lives in the whole county, it's a foregone conclusion, but he needs to get the country vote. So they released a video of him out in the country. He's got to get across. He's a farming man.
Yeah. Farming things like wearing white trousers on the farm.
Yeah. So he released a video of him on a farm, and you know,
People are kicking up stink about a lot of things.
People already don't like him, so it is very nitpicky, but it is funny.
You need to vet these videos.
Yeah, but it felt, a lot of people make comparisons to Alan Partridge. It felt very staged, and he goes through, and there's lots of nitpicky stuff, but he doesn't lock the gate, doesn't close his gate properly behind him.
Opens on pushes open the gate to begin the video, talking to camera, and then forgets to close it. Cows could be in that field.
I
Jim.
know, but I just saw a lot of people be like, the way he pushed open that gate, he's never been in a farm in his life. It's just real. And then the fact that he's wearing white jeans, and he there's a point where he kneels down in the grass, like, what the fuck? Was he wearing his best white trousers?
Spends a lot of time rubbing dogs.
There's a lot of dogs involved, but people weren't happy. But it did come across as a fella who. I don't know. It just was like cosplay of being on a farm. I think that was after maybe the first debate where he did not go over well.
Neither him or Humphreys
dropped the farm
did
video
well in the first debate, because it was very much so Connolly went not even so much on the offensive, but came out just giving a good of account of herself.
Yeah.
And then the other two were kind of like, we'll just sit back and kind of, I don't know if their tactic was like, give her enough rope to hang herself, give her enough guns to hang herself. But they were they definitely sat back a lot more. And by the second debate, Gavin was trying a little bit more, because he'd come off that's when this news story, the one that sank him, came out. But him and Humphreys both came out a lot stronger in the second debate. But so let's talk about what did Gavin in. What clipped his wings
in between. And I was trying to find this. Do you remember there was did you see what it was? There was rumors. Remember, he was bringing a case that there was rumors being spread on Twitter about it.
Yes, I tried to find the video and I couldn't, and then I realized, I was like, you know what? Well,
I think it was not. I don't think it was.
It was an Irish lad living in Thailand or something that he's done this before, and he's tried to influence elections, and he's spent $500,000 on that. It's something. I saw that report. I don't know if it's true or not. So I don't know. But I did.
But it was one of the.
I didn't go look at it, but it was I did try to find the video initially, and then people were like, no, in fairness, this is.
It's just AI. This is one of the few things. I think the big takeaway story was that it was removed from Facebook for being against Facebook's standards and policies.
Oh, okay.
I didn't realize they had it. So if it broke that, it was obviously pretty.
But people, couldn't even see what people said the allegations were.
Yeah, for a second I thought, I was like, oh, did someone break? Was someone trying to say about the rent thing before it broke?
No,
it was just something completely insane. But the story that got him was. The rent story. The
rent story.
Rentgate. I am the tenant.
Yeah,
Tenet. Christopher Nolan's Tenant. €3,300 cost him the presidency.
A third to a tenth of a Hermès bag.
Yeah. So basically the story started bubbling up in the classic journalistic. You drop a little bit, make him deny it, then more evidence, make him backtrack, deny that again, change the story. Yeah, more evidence.
This is the classic. This is
The slow bleed.
This is the FAI, the
Yes.
Delaney story.
Well, I saw Mark Ty referenced in this because didn't he do famously the opposite of that with one of the stories?
Well, no, yeah, that's the Delaney one where he was like, he'd sent in to basically told the FAI, was like, yeah, we've got this. They published a story,
yeah.
and then they were like, oh God, if he's got that,
If that's day one.
he's got everything.
He's a pro. He's going to bleed us dry here, but he hadn't got anything else.
Nothing.
Yeah.
He was like just sat there watching them give out all of their information.
Yeah. Just
I'll just for everyone, it's up there. We've a copy of it there. And Paul Rowan, Marty, Champagne Football.
Yes.
We've done an episode, a John Delaney episode about it, but by God, one of the best books.
just great journalism.
Yeah.
But
God.
another bit of great journalism.
Niall Donald.
So initially, so the first story comes out that there's a rumor that there's a tenant that Jim used to have. Well, Jim used to be a landlord back in the good old days. No harm there. He's a famous Dublin GAA player. He got into property in the Celtic Tiger times.
Who didn't?
Who didn't? You know, who amongst us? Plenty of people. Me, you, but, you know, who amongst us? And the story kind of started to come out that there was an issue with that one of his tenants had overpaid him and that Jim had withheld the money and not paid him back. And the figure of 3,300 started to float around. Jim denied it, said it wasn't true. I think initially he denied it, said it didn't happen. Then the story comes out.
So
a
he
little
had
bit
no
more, it was like-
memory of it.
Yeah,
You
there's
have to
proof
look-
of
you
it.
have
It's
to
like,
look into it.
I'd have to look into it. And as the story kind of broke and through the different debates, it turns out that it was, what's his name? Niall Donald.
Niall Donald, deputy editor of the Sunday World.
Yes.
Crime World. One of the best podcasts. You've heard me talk about it enough.
You've been,
I've been-
raving about Nicola Talon for years now.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Niall Donald. I thought,
Niall
and he
Donald.
doesn't get his flowers. Finally
No.
gets his flowers now.
I was trying to explain. So, yeah. So
Well,
you've
so
got,
we will say, yes, Fionn Sheehan is the journalist for The Independent who
Yes.
broke the news, and he's there, like, he's like pointing at this is the property in question,
Yeah.
and we're like, hey, what's going on now? And he just releases the story saying it's 3,300 quid that Jim Gavin supposedly owes to a former tenant who has tried to be in touch with him, and he never gave the money back.
Yes.
And that gets shared around WhatsApp and social media all over. I remember it was in a good few WhatsApp groups, people going, well, that's hardly going to be... He's hardly going to go down over that, is he? It's not going to be the saying, oh, just wait.
Oh, yeah. It had all the buzzwords of Fianna Fáil, landlord, multiple properties, not returning phone calls, taking money, and then as the stories were drip fed out, it transpired that Niall Donald was they were expecting a kid, his first kid at the time, so he had moved out of the apartment. It turns out that he'd and so you can go and listen to Crime World.
It's going to take you 45 minutes to
Yeah.
get through the story. I love Niall.
Yes.
He's not a great broadcaster.
It was hard for me to describe because he comes across very well personally.
Yes,
but,
in
doesn't-
terms of just get to the story, it's like trying to hang up when you're talking to your mother on the phone and be like, oh, there's one more. Is it that
Yeah.
he wouldn't just...
And I realize we're saying this 45 minutes into this
Yeah.
story, but
But we just wanted to hear him give the facts real quickly.
Yeah.
Bang, 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 10-minute story, and he's just constantly... He doesn't even throw Gavin under the bus.
no, he comes across very calm and he's very understanding and transpired that Gavin was at the time he was under financial pressure. This was 2008, 2009. So Donald had accidentally he had been paying twice as much rent for the space of a year, paying rent on a place he'd
He
moved
had
out of.
two direct debits
Yeah.
set up, and whatever the way it happened, that there was one of them was cancelled, the other one
Yeah.
wasn't. It was worth about 500 quid, just
Which-
over that. And then by the end of 6 months, when he'd copped it, that was ended. But
Yeah.
Gavin still had 3,300 quid worth of his money.
Yes. Which is a mistake I have made in the last 2 or 3 years, where I realized that I was paying, I don't know how. I think I just had 2 direct debits and I forgot to turn one of them off.
Yeah.
So I was paying twice the rent for
So
about
it can
4
happen,
months.
but what you're meant to
It
do...
can't,
then-
you need to be really as stupid as me to happen, but it can happen.
It can.
So he messaged his landlord, Gavin. He's like, oh, sorry, I'm accidentally sending you all this money. Can you send it back to me? And, I've got a kid in the way, blah, blah, blah. It's an accident. He sent the money to him. It's not Gavin's money. He has no right to it. Would you send it back, please?
I think Niall even said at that stage, he's like, right, Gavin had said that he would send him the money, and it went through a couple of bits back and forth, and then he stopped answering his calls, and wouldn't respond to text messages. I think he'd said he even tried to go to whatever military barracks he was stationed at, and was
Because he's a public figure,
he's
so there's
like,
contact details for
give
him.
the letter to him because he has to get the letter or whatever to him.
Yeah, I think eventually he's not responding. He's like, all right, get go through small claims court,
But that was only worth, say, half the money that
Yeah.
he could have. He was owed.
so he needed to get the letter and prove that he gotten it or whatever, that he was being
Yeah.
served
So
the
then he
summons.
goes to Gavin's
Goes to
parents'
his
house.
parents' house.
Yeah.
But after, a couple of months of no contact, being
Gavin
ghosted.
calls him up after that.
Yes.
Apoplectic.
Going screaming down the phone.
Yeah, so that's what we know for sure. He's heard about all of this. He knows exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
I was like, if you're annoyed about it, give him the money back. Stop being a stingy prick.
So I think during that call, he's like, I've got it. He calms down and he's like, I'll pay you now. I've got it here in front of me. No problem.
On the phone.
Yeah, and doesn't come through. Yeah.
Refuses to respond again after that.
Yes.
Somehow Niall Donald just lets it go.
Yeah.
Has to then go through Dublin.
And again, he comes across very level-headed and sensible in this interview that he
Whereas
does.
I'd be fuming.
Oh, he'd be...
And I'm sure he was at the time. Like he says
For sure.
as much. But it's also just funny to think, like, for all of these All-Ireland title winning
Yes.
Dublin teams, that everyone in the independent, or like the independent media news group, so you're like Sunday World, Sunday Indo, the Indo, like
Yeah.
all of these places, that everyone knows
Yes.
that this Jim Gavin guy, who's the manager
Yeah.
for Dublin, who's bringing all this success, is after screwing this fella
Yeah.
out of this money. And everyone's like, oh, that's your friend. There he
Every
is
time,
on the TV.
which is the most... it's the exact sort of thing we do
And
all
it's
the time.
not just your work colleagues, it's everyone in your life knows this. So-
Because he said himself, it became like his party piece. So
Yeah.
so it says in Line Jim Gavin, he's just an ex-GA star. He takes the money from Niall, doesn't pay it back to him. A couple of years later, he goes on to this massive run as the head of Dublin GA. Huge success, unparalleled success. There's murals to him. I don't know specifically to him around the city, but there's definitely murals to Strive for Five, all that sort of stuff around the place. And every time they won, people would just be messaging and I'd be like, ha, there he is now. Did you ever get the money back? Just giving him abuse. Because their offices, they shared it with the Indo offices, the independent offices. Yeah. So
because it's
as you said, like,
independent. It's the
not only did all of his friends know, all of his colleagues, aka
from multiple
all
newspapers,
the
everyone,
journalists in the city knew that this was a story. And he never brought it forward during the GAA run because, in his words, I think he was like,
it's nothing to do with GAA. Whereas I would be like, I'm bringing it up, as soon as I possibly can.
If you think of it this way, you're paying $3 and a bit grand for a very good story for a decade.
You
If you slice that up now,
could still tell
if you
the
did that in
story
installments,
after. You could still tell the story.
it wouldn't have the same impact. Oh, he stole the money from you and then he paid it back. That's not a good
The
story.
week leading into the 5th All Ireland final, that would be a great time.
Yes. So this is the other argument. So at the end of it, it comes out now that
the week leading into the third one, you'd be like 3. Huh,
Yeah.
that's very what? What would that remind me of now?
But so at the time, and there's been a lot of hand wringing and saying, "Oh, he was stressing for money," and people were after him creditors, and
Who's
he
stressing
didn't
for
have it.
money?
Yeah,
The journalist who was making like 80 to 100 quid a day, who had a kid
Yeah.
on the way.
Yeah.
And Gavin's there been like, I've got properties. I'm like, I'm stressed because I have all these properties that
Yes.
I'm meant to be making loads of money from.
I bought you in the Celtic Tiger. You don't understand. I'm meant to be getting money for nothing. One man's rent is another man's income. God damn it. So Niall does a very good job. Yeah, he's very sympathetic or whatever. But no matter what his situation was in 2009, he was certainly able to afford the money during his massive run as GAA manager. And at no point during that stretch...
Kevin, hold on, they don't get paid.
But during that stretch, at no point does he reach out to him or make any contact. And then to say, like, I don't know what's worse, if he did forget or if he didn't. Like, for that to happen and for you to have no memory of it when it's brought up to you is maybe worse. But
Well, and so it was brought up to him.
It was
because
brought up to
that
him.
when this had came up. It was because I think Fionn Sheehan said it. It was like it's because it was in the
So-
public record
but I
because he
just-
brought it to.
But also, every journalist seems to know the
Well,
story
yeah.
because it's Niall is telling it at every Christmas party, every office party, anytime Dublin, and Jim's in the news the whole time. Every time that comes up, he's telling it, presumably with as much emphasis and aplomb as he did on the podcast.
45 minutes. You're like,
And I emailed him, and now
I
this
think
is a long,
I emailed him. I believe it was Hotmail at the time, but
It could
also
have
it's been a
been-
long
it
time.
could have been Gmail.
AOL was popular at the time as well.
Possibly Yahoo. Now again, it's 12 years ago. It's an outside chance, but it would have been something like that. Now, was there someone CC'd? I can't remember. The BCC'd possibly, but it wouldn't be sure. And I sent that at maybe 10:10, maybe 10:15. Possibly 20 past. And again, this is a long time ago now. And it went off, and I remember thinking, there's the email now. that's all gone now.
And then what happened?
And how would that make you feel? Oh, I felt, good about that,
I thought that'd be the end of it.
I think my favorite line from that is like, and here's this whole story breaking, and you're at the heart and center of it. It's like, well, I was at the center of it, but I wouldn't say I was at the heart of it. Just
So the story that sort of broke was more about that he'd had these financial difficulties, but in the centre of the heart of this story is that this tenant, being
Well,
you,
it was in the centre of it, but I don't know if it was the heart of it.
Right.
just great, fair play to him.
He's grass, I'll
He's
tell you.
great.
Like, I've been listening to him for years. He's fantastic.
It was at the center of it, but it wasn't at the heart of it.
You want it because he's very serious about that, but every so often he'll make a joke on Crime World that just doesn't go over at all, and you see him just like quiver a little because he gets embarrassed by it, but they just plow on through.
Let's get him on the podcast.
But it's not a live show, so they could edit it out, but they don't.
But anyway, so he's telling the story. Everyone knows the story, all the journalists, including Fiona and Sheehan, who maybe our listeners will remember
Had to go with Spice Bag.
had to go with Spice Bag. He was the one who gave the famous line of politically motivated art. Yeah, as opposed to any other art.
Yeah.
But
Finger painting.
yeah, so he seemed to have a personal vendetta for whatever reason. He took this story that.
But it's also just a big story.
Well,
It's a big
it
smash
is,
for him
but
to
it's one of the few things that it is a big story, and it's good to see it treated as a big story. But it's also the sort of thing that would have happened to multiple. You can imagine this happening to Micheál Martin and it just being lost in the news cycle. But again, this is a presidential race, which is different.
Yeah.
So to see a man brought down over,
It's a race on morality, and
Yes.
and also it's a crazy race.
because it is like it's just purely ideological.
Have you ever done anything bad ever? What's your
Yeah.
thoughts on a load of stuff you won't have any impact on? What's your understanding of the presidency? And now lie about that.
Yes.
Because whatever you say,
It's irrelevant.
Completely
Yeah.
irrelevant.
But like good, moral, right and wrong are all sort of, it's going to differ depending on who you ask. And it is just basically what is the general consensus of what does the country think, or the majority of the country think is right and wrong, and then just vote someone who aligns close enough to that.
Yeah.
But purely, it's irrelevant. But most of the country did agree with stealing $3,500 off a man who had a kid on the way. It was bad.
But again, it's not how you stole it. It's how you dealt with stealing it. When the news story broke,
Yes.
when people found out, but obviously, like Niall Donald, he was like, the kid was on the way.
Yeah.
He's not like a rich man. Jim Gavin. But just the idea of having extra property, and he was like, "Oh, I was going through a very stressful time." And
Yeah,
you're like,
with my multiple properties.
with my multiple properties, and you're like, "Well, how about the again?"
Yeah,
you
yeah,
already
yeah.
said that, but
even he was like, if you had reached out to him and said, "We'll make up a plan, I'll pay you back over the next decade or whatever," but didn't do any of that.
decade, a year,
Yeah,
Like,
or
it's-
something.
yeah.
It was a tough time for a lot of people. But then the next big bit of the story is that this all was brought forward before the race started. They're like, because again, this is really intense. They're
Yeah.
going to look at all the skeletons in your closet. This news story was out there. Someone in Fianna Fáil vetted that, took a look at that, and said, "I've got my finger of the pulse of the people of Ireland. I can't see them being annoyed at a landlord."
Now, I believe what happened was they asked him, "Is there?" Because they've been told, because someone, I don't know if it was Donald or someone, reached out and said, "Hey, this story could come up." And
Yeah.
I believe they asked him, "Is there any history of?"
Is
that-
this still an issue?
Yeah.
He said that it was fine.
Or he says that he couldn't remember. Whatever. But that they. Well, we won't know exactly what
Yeah.
happened there because we weren't privy to the actual event
yeah.
when the party were doing it. But the idea being that they asked him, "Was this an issue? Or do you have any problems with any former tenants?" And he said no.
Yeah.
So they probably took that to mean, okay, that's a no. We're all good. That's been sorted.
Yeah.
They never went and asked Niall Donald.
Yes.
They never went and checked.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, he says they didn't. So we have to take that. So
Yes.
it's not that they went and checked and found out it was real and went ahead with it. They just didn't bother looking into it. And
But
they went
now-
ahead with it regardless.
Yes. But what you're doing now is this is why I was saying I want to look into why do I feel sorry for Jim? But all the political discourse and most of it has been trying to almost excusing Jim for being too simple. And I agree with you, but so much of it is like, And Fianna Fáil are the real villains. They were told this could happen, and they didn't look into it. They should have chased it down. And there is, in a sense, that like, he's not a politician. He's naive.
Both. It's like they are also.
Yeah. But it's almost funny that people are like, Jim's dead. Move that out of the way, and let's use this as a stake to beat Fianna Fáil with, which is very fair.
There's a the story then diverges into two ways, where it's like, right, this is still a presidential campaign, but the presidential campaign in Ireland is very much so tied to the political sphere, so that you're going. That's why. Well, it's interesting that there's a Fianna Fáil candidate, there's a Fine Gael candidate, and then Sinn Féin haven't ran one, but are ostensibly behind. Well, they are behind.
It's the United Left
Connolly.
candidate.
Yeah.
Yes.
So anything that Humphreys or Gavin was going to do was going to parlay into a news story revolving around either of the parties that decided to run them.
Yes.
So that instantly it became, the budget's coming out and we don't like Micheál Martin. So, and it's your fault. Also, it is that he really was behind the whole running Gavin. So that became a whole separate news story, which was like, fuck Fianna Fáil and fuck Micheál Martin.
Yes.
And do you remember when he was Lord Mayor of Cork and he didn't get the mother and baby homes?
But that's why.
And the chicken fillet roll answer was bollocks when he was over at South by Southwest. And people brought up everything that had nothing to do with Jim Gavin. But it was like,
But this is why it's futile, and has been, I think, for a couple of runs. It's people don't like Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, but they just don't like to reflect that in the polls. General election, local election, get them in.
Yeah, that's a whole separate.
European elections, presidential elections, let's select someone that aligns with our values.
But I mean, that's just the way the country is run, because we're a local based democracy where it's so like
but it's very funny that people
you do have to make your peace with that at a certain point.
Oh yeah. but I refuse to.
But I would say that in terms of the polls, it does reflect it, because they went from what used to be a majority government. Now they've joined in, rivals have joined together 2 election cycles in a row, and they've still barely,
that's true.
It's not still a runaway that they have to get together to just about get in and still take on some independence.
Yeah.
So like in that sense, you can, every couple of years when they do another election, you see it dwindle further and further and further. And now this presidential cycle is more of a reflection on that.
But it's just, I think it's my own biases, because every time I'm watching these debates and just everything that. So right, let's move on from Jim Gavin. He's gone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So let's just say that. Yeah. So at the end of, so he backs out. Doesn't. So he goes and does the second debate, the one of the week in politics, or she, and then he
emphasis of the week. Week at politics. That's what I call it.
It doesn't go great for him because he has to answer questions about that, and that's where he said, I don't know if it's
to answer questions about.
It's not going to go well.
Something that he would have had several months to prepare for, and he gets blindsided by it.
Yeah. But it's also because it was come out in that week, and then he's going to have to answer that night when they do the Week of Politics program, and he doesn't have a good answer for it, and he's like, I have to look into it further, and I don't know if it's there where he says it was in the deep recesses of my brain, which was just another classic of on further recollection.
I've been mentally stabbed.
On mature recollection.
Yes.
So that didn't go great for him. The next day, he just instantly drops out.
Yes.
So that's him gone. Ixnayed. He's finished.
And this is the Michael Scott meme from The Office of just, I declare bankruptcy, and cutting up his card. It's like, that's not. So Jim said he's out, but there's no protocol to leave at this late stage. So he's not actually out. So he's still on the ballot.
He's on the ballot.
And if enough people vote for him, he will win.
Yeah, if enough people spoil their vote by going for Jim Gavin, it's actually technically not a spoiled vote.
It's not. And so he can say he's out, but if he does say he does win, like,
God, that would be very funny.
It's his first refusal. He would
take it.
Of course he would. Yeah, that'd be. Or maybe he wouldn't. I think he's probably done with being in the public eye now.
Well, yeah, I'd say his family are raging that he's put them through this, and
it all boils down eventually to not your epitaph, but your Wikipedia page. And now, for no reason at all, his Wikipedia page is going to forever be like
controversies.
He would have just been the guy that every Dublin GAA fan.
His army career now, in terms of the treatment of women, the presidential race as a whole, and the other bits that came out, but also the landlord fiasco. It's everything. I heard. I think it was.
He's ruined his legacy.
I forget if it was in bits and pieces on the Indo or what I was listening to the other week, but someone had been like, he's going to have to get back into the GAA now, just to untarnish.
He's going to have to do 7 in a row,
but because Dublin are already, you can't have him there. That's going to be, that ship's gone now. That's going to be, someone mentioned the fact, it's like, what he could do? he could
Bring
go.
Louth to an All Ireland.
Someone mentioned Monaghan. That there was like, you could go up to Monaghan, and if you did well at Monaghan, maybe people would start to go, oh, Jesus, fair play to him.
My God. Well, I mean,
Now you're back on Jim's side.
listen.
Yeah.
A lot of bad has been thrown.
Director of football at Monaghan, not even managing. Just
Ivan Yates said the only way to win this election is a smear campaign. I feel like my client, Jim, has been the unfair victim.
smear the bejesus
out of him. I think he's been smeared like butter on toast. I think that man deserves another chance.
Yeah.
As long as he brings Monaghan and, more importantly, maybe Louth to an All-Ireland final. Then I think he would have served his time for the country.
Yeah, but that's enough about Gavin there now.
So he's gone.
He's gone. Now we'll go. He left on 12%, but that was he only had a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
In the week leading up to it, was he? I don't think he ever got past 20% of the vote, or maybe he was up and around there.
Like,
and
even from the first debate, he was very bad.
He wasn't
Very,
great.
very
So
poor.
and so then we'll move on to number 2. We'll go Heather Humphreys.
Yeah.
Ooh la la. We'll play that clip here now.
Yeah.
Ooh la la, wonderful coffee.
Well, what do you do between the two of them? I mean, yeah. And really, this is where...
Well, we'll give her a little background. She's a Fine
Yes.
Gael. She was a Fine Gael politician.
There's
she
never
was-
been a Fine Gael president. And frankly,
There won't be this time.
I don't know if there ever will be. Until Leo Varadkar in 2035.
Who got a tax write-off for the book, I believe.
He got the
Someone
artist
was-
exemption.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I didn't look into it, but someone had said that, and I have to do
So
more.
did Bertie.
Yeah,
Someone had it back-
it's probably pretty common of a thing, but it's just the fact that it happened, and you're already rich, and you're like, and
Yes.
you're not well liked. It's not. Maybe you just
You're
don't
talking
even-
about Bertie again?
Don't write the book.
No, who...
P.S. I love you, but
Miriam O'Callaghan, I think, gave hers back recently.
see?
Yeah.
But a future president of Ireland, unless she runs for Fine Gael.
Future president of Ireland's sister.
But Heather Humphreys from the north,
Well, from Monaghan.
because she keeps saying that she has. This is a big part of her campaign. That
Yes.
she's got a unique understanding of the north and south.
Yes.
And she hasn't expanded on that whatsoever.
She hasn't,
just keeps-
yeah.
She hasn't. She just says a unique understanding.
Because if she expands on it, what she means by that is that her husband was in the Orange Order.
Yes, and that she's from a unionist background.
Yeah.
And that's what Irish people as a whole don't want.
Yep.
So that her unique understanding is from this point of view of someone who's directly linked to what we would consider the wrong side of things.
Yep. And there's just an awful lot of clips of like softball questions. The last one from during the week was like, and if when you're in the Oris, would you be keeping your toaster in the cupboard or on the shelf?
She said in the cupboard.
Yeah, it's a Protestant thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But who cares? Or more like at this late stage,
For
like
an election like this, where no one knows what way a toaster in a cupboard could sway the wind the complete opposite way of an election.
And now I'm just a simple, ignorant man. But I guess a lot of the, one of the few things that could maybe be put into the realm of the job you'd have as a president is working towards United Ireland. And that happening potentially in the next 7 years. And having someone in a unique position to unite the two counties.
You say, I don't use a toaster, I put it in the air fryer.
Yeah. Where do you keep your air fryer? But that she's from a unionist sort of Protestant background, that she would be a person that loyalists in Ulster could look to as a safe pair of hands, that they would be more willing to join United Ireland with her as the president. And I would rebuttal that I don't think they give a fuck.
Fuck no.
I don't
Yeah,
think
that's not.
I don't think that's true. I think there's the subsection of people in the north who are never going to be happy with joining Ireland at all. That's just not on the table, regardless of who's in charge.
I'd say there's a section of people in the north who are just never going to be happy. It's part of their demeanour.
Ironically,
And
they're the people that would
they like
enjoy
it
this
that
country
way.
the most.
Yeah.
They're the people we have the most in common with. But I don't think they give a shit. And then there's the middle ground that are, if and when an election comes up, people are going to vote on healthcare, pensions, roads, access to, the NHS, the HSE, normal stuff, taxes, stuff that people care about. Ideological stuff as to like what background the president, a purely ceremonial role, whether they're Protestant, Catholic, Unionist, whatever, where they keep the toaster is going to be massively irrelevant. And I would say if the presidency will be relevant in any way when that day comes, you would think a lot of them are going to be, anyone who's sitting on the fence will look at Ireland and be like, do I want to be part of that country? What does that country represent? What's it about? What's living there going to be like? I think you're much more likely to, if it matters at all, be swayed by a good president who's doing a good job and has the same values that you agree with, as opposed to someone who fucking keeps their toaster where you used to keep it.
Yeah.
Like it's, and I am speaking for everyone in the north of Ireland when I say that, but I don't think that's going to be a factor.
No, there's going to be, but also they're going to care a lot more about just who's in charge in the north.
Who's in charge in the Dáil at the time? Yeah, for sure, that'll matter.
Yeah, instead of the everyone knows that the presidency doesn't really have any.
And again, if in so much as it does matter, it'll be more important to have someone whose politics you align with, as opposed to that they're from.
But also, we're so far removed from anything like that. Even though it's been a part of this presidential race.
Yeah.
But we're so far removed from that.
Yes.
And it is, because I say it on the tours the whole time when I'm walking around and be like, people off the older generations would say, not in my lifetime, but maybe in my children's lifetime. And then people go, maybe in my lifetime. We're still so far removed from that.
Yeah.
That we're not any, I put no sway into that. Like there's.
Yeah.
It's a pointless discussion.
I think it's going to happen in the next 5 years. I've said that every year for the last decade. But this time, but it could happen.
You're the David McWilliams of the crash. Eventually, you'll be right.
Somewhere in this podcast there'll be a clip of me being right. But yeah, I mean, it's not immediate relevancy. But also, if you're trying to bridge the divide, and this is the sort of thing we see all over the world. If you're on the left, the way you join with, you don't go to the right to appease.
No,
so if you're trying to make people feel welcome into a new United Ireland, you do not appease to, you not fucking go down the Orange Order route.
No.
That's the worst. That's the part of the country we should all be moving on from.
Do you know what way
it's part of our shared legacy?
All the people that, a lot of people who would feel left behind by the Republic of Ireland over the last 100 years, you know a way to keep them on site?
Yeah.
Elect a woman who's riding a lad from the Orange Order.
Yeah. It's the worst part of, I don't know. Anyway, it shouldn't be a factor.
Yeah, but now, so she was pretty quiet in the first debate. She definitely spoke up an awful lot more in the second, in the Week in Politics one. And then since then, the sit down on, they've done 2 radio debates.
Yeah.
And a lot more confrontational, a lot more smearing.
Yes.
Now, that didn't help when Ivan Yates came out and said, if I was in her position, I'd smear the absolute bejesus out of her, which a lot of people took to mean, see, they are smearing her. But the thing is, they are smearing her.
Yeah.
but they didn't, no one said it.
No. Because he was a former Fine Gael politician himself. The man's a fucking lunatic.
Yeah, but also fantastic at getting people talking about Ivan Yates.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And there was listeners, it was the next day. Well, it's weird because it's like everyone's talking about Ivan Yates. You're not going to listen in the next day. Well, maybe to hear him talk, or to roll it back or whatever he's saying the next. But that's only for one quick bump in listenership, and then it's done. But he could have, I personally think Connolly was going to get there anyway.
Yeah.
But this has not helped.
No, because from that point,
because you've screwed over your former party now.
Anytime they criticize her at all, people are like, smear campaign.
Yeah.
So if you can't, any legitimate criticism is going to seem like a dirty, underhanded tactic, which is not what you need in the last week and a bit or whatever.
No.
Very funny from Ivan Yates.
Yes, it was. God, he's box office. But so in terms of Humphreys, she was she minister for the Irish language? Was it education when she'd said that she was going to learn how to speak Irish because she doesn't speak Irish?
No, and so they're pretty sure that's the Gaeltacht arts and sports, which is a ministerial position we might be chatting about a bit more soon.
Yeah,
but at that point she said she'd learn Irish. and she didn't.
Which is,
But now-
so it was a lie.
Yeah, but we've all said that. We've all lied about it, which is, that's part of human nature.
Yes.
But then
We've
this
all
time
said
she's like, if I get the presidency for real, I'll do it this time.
Yeah, which is, doesn't,
Yeah.
Don't-
Which again, I've said multiple times, for real, I'm going to learn Irish this time. But like,
but you're not going to do it when you take on, as much as we say, well, I suppose maybe now you would have time, because the president, again, isn't going to be doing a whole lot.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like, hey, I didn't have time to learn Irish. I was busy running 4 different fucking ministries.
one of which was being in charge of the Irish
Irish people,
speaking
yeah.
parts of the country. If you don't learn it then,
Yeah, but no, I would say, but that would also be a time where you go like, hey, I would have loved to learn it then, but also I was in charge of a load of different things and constantly
Yeah.
working. So, but also kind of bullshit, because you could just move out to there / just do twice a week, 1 hour session,
Yeah.
pick it up little by little. It more so goes to show that you said that as like, and it was,
yeah. You can't use the same lie twice.
no.
Yeah.
But she tried.
Yes.
And that's why people go like, how could we believe you now when you've literally said this exact same thing? Mm-hmm. You're gone.
Yeah.
I can't trust that. I was like, I would have apologized for it and said, look, it is very important. I didn't do it. I regret that. There's a lot of people out there who would have loved to have learned Irish. And what we're going to do is try and change that and get the next generation speaking it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, fair enough. But to just turn around and go, no, but this time,
Yeah.
baby, it'll never happen again.
I mean it for real.
Yeah. So that was a big mark against her. She told a bunch of journalists to go fuck themselves when they tried to ask her about the zoning of a property
Yes.
that she owns, because it was used as storage, but technically it was meant to be.
It was like the upstairs of her campaign office, I believe, in Monaghan or Cavan. Yeah, it's rezoned as a residential place, but she was using it as storage. The same, honestly, as you would see walking around Dublin, look up above any building. The second floor, where it's just like boxes and shitty curtains. That's, in theory, a lot of those places could get hit for the vacant property tax if they're not zoned the
And
right
should.
way. And should, yeah.
We could all, not all, but a good chunk of us could live in the city centre of Dublin if all of these businesses and people who, like landlords, if they got their, if the government passed a law saying that I actually have to use what it's zoned for, has to be used for.
Yes.
Like
The
it
trouble,
should be.
I think a lot of them were like, they're in shitty condition and they don't fire escapes. And
Yeah, and some of them are also zoned buildings. So they're
everything's registered.
red, yeah. So
yeah.
you can't it's historical. It's going to cost a fortune. It'll be 360 grand to make a bike shed.
Yeah.
Like, it's fair. Like,
But it's, I don't know, you wonder how much fucking money it would cost to get up all these things to code, because surely,
but don't you see people,
matter how much you spend,
people are
you're
living
making
in
money.
all around the country. People are living in moldy rooms with fucking walls falling down. So also just let people live there. Feck
yeah.
it.
But then,
It's like how all of the residential
all-
levers that they pulled up there a couple of years ago still didn't sort out all of the vacant buildings around the city centre.
Yeah.
So that's not all the levers.
But there's a
Levers.
it's the fucking trolley lever problem where they're like, well, if people are, record levels of homelessness and people can't move in places, but we don't do anything, that's better than if we change stuff and people get sick from mold or die in a fire, or they're more worried about something bad happening through action than just all this terrible stuff that's happening through inaction. But anyway,
That was
as
was
it-
that Pieta House, the Glenn Hansard thing? Was that the name of the charity when they brought in
Apollo House.
Apollo
Yeah,
House,
yeah.
Aleppo House,
Aleppo House.
yeah, but they were like, no, you can't do that. It's not registered for that. It's not safe. And they're like,
Yeah.
it's safer for them to be on the street in winter. What is Pieta House? So that's a
It has
charity.
another homelessness charity.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm
But
not
no, that was
crazy.
Apollo House where they broke into it.
Yeah.
Or whatever. It was sitting empty for another 2 years as well. So I'm not going to say they broke into it. They walked into an abandoned building and housed homeless people in it for a winter years ago, and they all got kicked out and got boarded up. But anyway, those are massive tangents. Was the sort of stuff that people get riled up and annoyed about, with that Heather Humphreys kind of fairly or unfairly represents in people's minds.
Yeah.
She's the established politician. But yeah, that story was that, the place was left in her constituency, and some journalists from the ditch went up to her and she told them to go fuck themselves. Yeah.
Which is
That won a lot of people back.
That's win people back. So I will say for her that there was one great moment.
Do you know what you could do now? You can go and fuck yourself, hey. And people thought, there's a woman of the people.
She could be president.
Yeah, she could be president.
Because I'll say that she hasn't had a major scandal come out about her. She hasn't done anything that's been like, we're throwing things like never learned to speak Irish. When she said she'd speak Irish, she's like married to an orange order man, which is but like nothing like the landlord scandal. There's no but they're obviously well then
The other big two that she's getting hammered with is that
the drink driving.
Yeah, the drink driving one. So someone died, tragic drink driving, hit and run. Actually, I don't even know, was it drink driving? Someone died in a tragic hit and run accident in Monaghan, and the parents said that she didn't do
anything for them, and they've been on to her for years. Yeah, so that was. But no, I think that there was someone came out and said that while.
Oh, that was the guy who did the hit and run was meant to be in jail at the time, which is obviously it's
tragedy,
horrible. Yeah, and then that they feel like that she didn't represent them as much as she thinks that she did. Yeah.
But no, I think it's what I was going to say is that there was people, so it got leaked, or somebody said, which they probably weren't meant to, because all cabinet meetings are meant to be private, but that when they went to vote on things, that she voted in favour of it for changing the drink driving laws, or that there was something revolving around the drink driving laws, but that she, in the debate, akin to when she was like, I could vote for a woman who tells a ditch journalist to go fuck themselves. When in the middle of that,
I like what the ditch do, but it's just funny to tell any journalists to go fuck themselves.
But when I think she voted against changing the drink driving laws to be harsher. In the debate, she was talking about that, and she was like, no, and this is meant to be private, and that shouldn't have come out. And obviously, I condone drink driving. And then the interviewer had to be like, sorry, you mean you don't condone drink driving? And for a split second, so geez, you could win a lot of the country back here.
I absolutely condone drink driving. It shouldn't be happening.
Don't condone, I think you mean.
You could be, what is that? Well, there's a lot of lonely men in rural parts of the country, and the Irish pub is a part of their everyday, their week. That's their social setting. They can't, and all they want to do is go down for 3 or 4 pints, and like a Healy Ray once said, just take the back roads and go slow. And I'd say if she hadn't have been called on it,
you're getting into Peter Casey territory now.
Yeah.
Like, the game's gone, you've lost it. You may as well swing for the fences. Just say something terrible.
Fuck the ditch. You should be allowed to have 3 or 4 pints and go take the back road slow.
The only ditch I care is keeping it between the ditches. You know, you may just say something.
She could have got some wild
bring back smoking
votes
inside.
there.
Yeah, just go for that. Completely sell your soul and get that 20% of the. Get them in.
Why isn't weed legal?
Well, hang on now.
Yeah.
Let the woman speak. Yeah.
But it's like, just go for them all. Go for all of it.
Yeah.
Just,
scattershot. See what the people.
Something will land.
Because she's.
And then anytime you're questioned on it, you just go fuck yourself.
Yeah, but you go fuck yourself. The other thing she's been hammered for.
Connolly's in the Ra.
Well, they tried that one.
Yeah. Will we move on to?
But the last one was, and again, it's a bit. What was it? Around fox hunting, and that she's getting hammered over the animal cruelty stuff, and that was some case with a farmer in Monaghan who was being done for animal cruelty, and then she passed a letter to the minister. A family member of the guy who was in court got a letter to her, and she passed the letter on to the Minister of Agriculture at the time, and then the case was dropped. So, don't know. She says nothing inappropriate happened, but people
but it wasn't a letter of recommendation for her, because I was going to say that.
But then it's coming
on the off chance that you ever want to run for anything ever.
Yeah.
If you came to me looking like, could you give me a letter of recommendation for anything?
Yeah,
I'd be like, not a chance.
But yeah,
it's going to come up. Something's going to happen about it.
She just was like, I passed it on, and I didn't, give a recommendation or say anything of it. But she shouldn't be passing on. I don't know. If you're in court for animal cruelty, like, she should have read the fucking letter. She shouldn't just be passing on stuff she's not reading.
Yeah. But so she's in favour.
Which is another classic politician excuse, though. It's like, I wasn't even.
I didn't
read it. I just passed it on.
Sean Gallagher.
Yeah. Well, then why? What are you doing then? That's your job.
But she
cleared it up afterwards. She came out and she said that people said, "Are you in favour of fox hunting?" She said, "I have a dog
and a cat.
I live on a farm."
Do you support fox hunting?
Well, first of all, I have a lovely little dog, and it's a little Yorkshire Terrier, and he's a house dog, and I'm very fond of him. And we have a rescue cat as well, and we have those are our pets. And of course, I live on a farm, so there's many more animals there on the farm. And
but yeah, because that's the one that I don't know how the wind blows on this. It does feel weird that we have course that like letting animals out there for sport to be killed.
Oh yeah,
That
I think
feels
it's
mad.
It's hard to know. Because it's like the cause celeb of Irish Reddit, where every year the budget's just gone as well. There's a serious amount of money pumped into horse racing and greyhound racing. With the defense is always that like, but they can't support themselves.
But
But it's all tied into like coursing, fox hunting. There's certain cohorts of society who are very into those things, and the government, for whatever reason, doesn't want to annoy those cohorts.
Yes,
To appease to a bunch of limp-dick liberals who live in between the canals of this city of scum. Who are, oh no, the animals are being treated badly. Yeah, you go out every day and devour a fucking steak from McDonald's, don't you? You make me sick. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it seems crazy that they're pumping this money into two.
Oh, we shouldn't be racing horses for sport. You were happy enough to be eating horse there for a good 20 years.
You're getting. I want to hit the buzzer there. You're getting too close to talking about my good friend and neighbor. Those horses just wandered into that factory.
Yeah.
He didn't know.
But as a sportsman myself, I. Not in terms of playing, but in terms of watching and having points and giving out about what I see on screen by lads who are more athletically gifted and dedicated to pursuing it than I would be. Say in terms of like soccer, that the betting and all the money that goes that's siphoned away to give to the horse and the dog racing, even if you bet on a Premier League match or even closer home if you bet on a League of Ireland match, that there's more money going to the horse and dog racing than there is to football.
Yes.
Which doesn't make any sense, because if you're a fan of football and you're betting on football, maybe that money should just go towards the football.
But also the whole betting,
but also that
is like
whatever,
we shouldn't be encouraging.
Well, I've talked enough at length, ad nauseum, Kevin, about the scourge of gambling.
But even with horse racing, if they're like, oh, it's cruel to the horses and the dogs. But on the plus side, we're getting an awful lot of lads hooked on gambling.
Yeah.
Sure, the animals are worse off, but you know, people can lose their houses as well.
But say, like, at least with the horse racing, I wouldn't be a fan of either, but at least with the horse racing, that they're not. I suppose dog racing, the aim is for not them to get the rabbit or the hare, whatever it is.
Well, in coursing
it is. But I'm saying because of greyhound racing.
I suppose these are two separate topics,
but it does feel unnecessarily cruel, and for what gain and what benefit? Mechanical AI rabbits, right? Get them in, or have a lad.
Yeah,
covered in, send a human being out there, covered in blood or whatever the fuck dogs are attracted to, and fucking let them have a go at it. They're like, but I do think it's kind of crazy that at this stage, 2025, and it'll continue to happen next year as well. For a long time, I'd say that, animals for sport seems a bit.
It's very,
yeah. When you could just give your money to the Saudi government to watch football or boxing instead. Like, come on, get it together.
Yeah. There's even, you go into bookies now, you can like bet on digital racing. Like, I know you're joking about AI coursing there, but like that, it's not the fucking same.
No, I know, lads. I have an uncle who bets on digital horse racing, horse racing.
Yeah.
You study the form. The form wouldn't like you.
I've studied the algorithm. But anyway, it's just, you should start getting hammered with all this.
Yeah, and that is probably the between the drink driving thing and that, they're probably the two scandals about her. But
again, like all soft enough stuff. The underlying issue is that she is
no personality. That's the main thing.
But she's representative of all the ills of the day that people, and especially they would say young people, which I was glad to hear mentioned in various podcasts. Young people are anyone under 35. The youth of this country, the young bucks. The stuff that like people are annoyed about: rent, animal cruelty, getting fucked over by landlords,
politicians giving politician answers when they're
political answers, people being mealy-mouthed on Gaza, which is another thing actually on the first debate when she was getting hammered over the why is the Occupied Territories Bill taking so long to go through? Or, it's been delayed, and what's all this about? And she was getting a bit flustered, and she said, but if would it make any difference at this stage anyway? Which is the wrong answer.
That's not a great answer. Yeah.
Yes.
Suppose the thing is like, we want you to give a non-politician answer, and you give that answer, right? What the fuck did you just say?
All of the, because every time she answers something, you feel like she's not telling the truth. Because if you push her on the truth, it would turn out that she doesn't particularly care about.
Or tell you to go fuck yourself.
She's telling you to go fuck yourself. She doesn't care about the things that annoy a lot of people.
Yes.
And the Occupied Territories Bill is obviously going through the houses of the Oireachtas at the minute. And
painfully slowly.
yeah,
I mean, the dogs in the street know what's going on there. We're just hoping that there'll be some sort of resolution before we have to pass it.
Well, in fairness, is it going to make any difference in terms of what's happening in Israel, in
So don't bother
Gaza at the
pass it.
minute? No, I'm not saying that.
Well, it sounds a little like you were about to say that.
No, I'm not saying that at all.
And then would use... well, so this is probably a good point, a chance to move on to Catherine Connolly, because both Humphreys and Gavin tried to say that Catherine Connolly was pro-Putin.
Yes.
And that was a bit mad, because then Connolly could just turn around and be like, well, how do you feel about Gaza? And they're like, we're not talking about that now. We're talking about you love Russia.
Yes.
They're like, how do you feel? Now, obviously, we all do care about Ukraine and Russia,
Yes.
but at the minute, the hot talking point is Gaza.
Oh, no, that's done. Trump solved that.
Well, yeah,
Put
but
to bed.
during all the debates, and she was like, "Just this is how we'll get her. We'll go in hard on the whole Ukraine-Russia thing," and then Connolly is like, "Palestine."
Yeah.
And it was, no, hold on now, we're not talking about that.
Yeah.
And she'd just be like, as I was saying, Palestine. And I've given you your chance to talk
Yes.
now. Have you seen me do keepy uppies?
Oh, yeah. We'll talk about that in a minute, but that was, I'd say, a lot of people. And going back to gambling, I think Paddy Power did call it after that. They were like, yeah, job's done.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so so moving to Catherine Connolly.
The leader of the race so far. We don't know. There's a lot of people undecided.
Well, now, maybe this is a good time to show you this, actually. I found this article. I was looking at other political races, and because now there's only two people. It's two horse race, two women.
Horse race. I'll get the loony lefts on one of her sides.
So I'll go from the New York Times. You can try and guess the year based on the title there.
Irish women find niche, and it's not in the kitchen.
Yeah, it was in 1997 in the New York Times about running for the president of Ireland.
A fine paper.
A fine paper. Irish women have found a niche. No, Jason, it's not in the kitchen. It's running for one of the highest ceremonial offices in the land. Just fucking I don't know. You forget how sexist the past was.
Yeah.
That in 1997, the New York Times could run that headline. But I don't know. There's a lot of very funny quotes from that. But yeah, the country's surprise at the all-women campaign was reflected in the words of Robert O'Donnell, 10, son of Deputy Foreign Minister Liz O'Donnell. Aren't there any election for daddies? She quoted him as saying, which is a great quote to take out of context for this. But Jason, let me put it to you, heading into the last stages of this election of 2025, aren't there any election for daddies? I say vote Jim Gavin. Put him in.
The godfather of Dublin GAA.
Yeah, but that was an election between Mac Leese and a Dana, who I forgot that she'd run a couple of times.
Yeah.
She was in the 2011 one. But the first woman to win this country Eurovision title.
Which you think could count for something?
Well, apparently not. Although I'm reading here that she was living in Alabama at the time of that 1997 election.
Oh.
Which is... she is the... To be fair, probably less than Maria Sten. I can't remember Dana's politics, but she's also like very conservative Christian.
But I remember the gold.
I remember the golds. I remember that 1970 turned this country around. But anyway, heading into the last leg of this election, it's two ladies. One of them we've talked about is getting, rightly or wrongly, all of the ills of the day pinned to her collar, and then the other one is a loose cannon communist.
Yes. Well, it's as a lot of people have already said, it would be the first one. It's kind of like, well, she's just trying to run off the back of the big referendums and how everyone's behind gay marriage and abortion, and it's like, and is that going to be enough? You're like 66% of each vote.
Yeah.
That might be close enough to swing it.
Was she on the right side? Well, as in the right side is again objective. It's the sort of side that I agree with, but also like, but
so therefore. The right
side. But avoiding falling into that trap, looking at the percentages of the people who voted for all those things, the right side or where the will of the people is going, which is another thing that was thrown at Jim Gavin. It's like, he's entered into politics now and he's always cared about politics, but there's not a trace of him saying anything during any of the referendums or any of the big things that have happened in the last decade. But he cared.
Yeah.
Not enough to do anything, but he thought it. But whereas comparatively, you can see Connolly was on the right side and campaigning for stuff that people had largely agreed, again, in these votes as being the right side.
Yes. Women's rights.
Yes.
Yes.
Women's wrongs. And so
Of which there are none.
the
Talk history, 20, 30 something.
But the things that she is getting thrown against her are that, not being hard enough against Russia. Initially, I guess, that she put forward Gemma O'Doherty for the 2018 presidency.
That's not a great look.
No. Now,
that's a bad look.
Gemma O'Doherty in 2018 is not the same as Gemma O'Doherty in 2025 or 2 or 3 or 4. But also she was definitely starting to...
Well, it was mainly 2020, 2021. That was a lot of the bad.
She got really...
But 2018,
during the COVID.
I can't remember when... Because you obviously was a respected journalist.
Yeah.
Big heel turn.
Big heels, yes. Big investigative journalist, brought forward a lot of stuff, was very respected. Then I think, and you can say whatever. Yeah,
husband passed away,
and
and
I
then
think that's when she sort of turned.
Yeah.
Now, by 2018...
Spent a bit too much time on Reddit.
Yes.
And not All Ireland.
No.
Well, probably a little bit of there as well. But.
Yeah, actually she's banned. You can't mention her at all on there because of lawsuits. But anyway, so that obviously, that rang alarm bells for people being like, oh, she backed her in 2018. That's a bit crazy. She wasn't fully the Gemma O'Doherty we know and love today back then. But it is also telling that she didn't... herself and Michael D don't get along, apparently. Yes. But, I mean, name me one other instances where two figures on the left haven't agreed with each other.
Yeah.
I'll wait. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that people try to bring her down with as well, but they're very...
Which is because it's, I mean, the part of the campaign is unspoken really, but it's kind of like, hey, you like Michael D. Higgins?
Yes.
Try and basically him, apart from the fact that me and him don't see eye to eye, we actively dislike each other.
Yes. Well, now, and I don't know.
We don't know if
that
is.
Yeah,
but also because Higgins can't come out and give his...
he's impartial.
Yeah. Which would be... Because that probably would clear things up a little bit when people are like, you know what, he doesn't get on with Catherine Connolly. If he was allowed to come out, I don't know if I'm sure or not, but you would imagine his ideals for the presidency and the country that would probably closer align with her. Even if he didn't like her on a personal level or because of whatever over the years, you would imagine, I would think he would be more likely to vote for someone who's... Can the president vote for the next president?
I assume as a citizen. Yeah.
Michael D just goes up to her and says, look, I vote for
Bertie Ahern. Yeah. So that's one thing.
But obviously, they're not allowed to say that, and she can't really come out as well.
Yeah.
Maybe nor would she want to be like, sure, I'm basically like Michael D. But it does get that sense.
Yes.
But the only thing is that there has been a number of reports. So in her time as a barrister working for big... She has said that as a barrister, you don't get to decide what comes across your desk, and you just work as best and as fairly as possible. Yeah. But that she would have been taking cases, kicking people out of homes back in the after the recession, during the housing crisis. That doesn't look good.
No.
That's not great. And I don't want to just be like, I trust her, I believe everything she says.
Yeah.
But again, the keepy uppies.
I know.
So that's one where I'm like, oh... This is because I'll give her a lot of leeway on the we can talk about the guns charges now.
Yeah,
bringing someone in to who had been to jail.
Yeah, that was a big story. I've seen, or I don't know, a lot of the podcasts that I mentioned, they keep referring to her as the woman involved in the case. I don't know why they're not saying her name. Unless there's a reason for that, and we shouldn't be saying it either.
I imagine, well, if you can find it publicly there. But it is like, I suppose it's one of the ways that Connolly's deflected from instead of answering a lot of these questions, but that she's like, the lady in question.
Yeah, it's a lot of that.
Who's been, she has served her time for a guns charge.
Yes.
Being caught with, was it 2 handguns? Some ammunition, some petrol. The only thing is, I did find it was like the fact that there was petrol in the boot of the car. I'm like, well, I know a lot of lads in the country who keep a little canister of petrol in the car just in case.
Yeah, you get it when it's cheap. You put it in a canister.
Yeah,
yeah. You can relate to that.
Yeah, if you're on a long trip, where you need to go and shoot someone for the wrath.
Yep. If you're driving around the Wicklow Mountains, so they lose your guard of tail. We've all seen The General.
Yep. An Ordinary Decent Criminal. They just take the exact same scene.
Yeah.
But the worst thing Kevin Spacey has ever done. But so I believe it was 2 handguns, but you could fact check that. Or don't, it'll be like a presidential debate in 2011. But caught with guns and ammunition and a smorgasbord of weapons and such. That,
Yes.
And this is they say a prescribed organization, or what's the?
A lot of what the I don't know if I'm giving the media the benefit of the doubt here, but a lot of the times it's record because it sounds dodgy.
It sounds like it's the
Erigi. It sounds like Syria, which is the group that Syria. They were responsible for the murder of Lyra O'Key. Remember, 2019. But it's it's a one-word Irish name. We haven't really heard of it before. Is it some sort of splinter paramilitary group? They're a spin-off of Sinn Féin, and I'm going to stop you before you say it now. But they're not. The way it's reported, it sounds like they're.
All right,
terrorist.
Mr. Olive Wire Jumper.
Hey, listen, I've never been a member of Erigi. That's on record. But whatever, yeah, and you're caught driving around with guns. It's not a great look. 2012, but she is arrested, sentenced, does her time, and then the big question becomes: do you believe in rehabilitation or not? And after her initial, so what are the ins and outs of that? So she
goes to jail.
She goes to jail,
does her time.
Yeah.
In jail.
Yeah.
And she speaks Irish fluently.
Yes.
So she ends up Eamon O'Quiv, Eamon De Valera's grandson.
Yes.
Yeah. Recommends her to Catherine Connolly.
Yeah.
To go in and work for
when she gets
Yeah. So when she gets out and she's recommended, and she's like, this is she's great for the role.
Mm-hmm.
She's a fine candidate outside of these charges. But that's really where it comes down to: if you've ever gone to jail, should you ever be allowed do anything ever?
But that becomes then the broader question in these debates, where she's getting hammered with what about rapists? But going back to specifically what she was charged with and Eamon O'Queeve's part, yes, the story breaks that and she put this woman forward for Garda vetting so that she could get a pass to go into the Oireachtas and help her with some work, and she failed Garda vetting or didn't pass Garda vetting, so Catherine Connolly was signing her in and out.
Yes.
So
usually the Garda vetting is meant to take 2 to 3 weeks. This continues to go on. It's even at the time the guards had a task force was just basically spying on the lady to check to see who she's meeting, see what she's up to. So it was tough for her to get the vetting when they were actively checking to see if she had any links to paramilitary groups or to whatever they're checking for. But it turns out that she didn't, as far as they know, which is also questions that they can't answer. People have been thrown at Connolly, been like, and why didn't she have the Garda vet? And she's like, well, I'm not a guard.
Yeah.
I can't tell you that, and I don't have access to the files, so ask them.
Yeah.
But they won't be able to tell you because it was either
they don't want it.
They don't want to / I don't know if it's still an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
Hard to say. So it's very.
But she was getting hammered by that from Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, and then Eamon O'Queeve of Fianna Fáil came out and was like, I don't know why people are going after her, and this is another rift within Fianna Fáil. But he was very annoyed that they were going after her because, he was the one who recommended her to go into it. And as we said during our episode in the jail in Dundalk the week, if you were to rule out there's different kinds of crime, and if you were to take all the politicians from Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael who had done time in prison or been involved or arrested for some kind of gun charge, the country, there'd be no left.
Yes. Now, the only difference between these situations would be that was when the country was fighting for its freedom over 100 years ago.
Yes.
And this is in very recent history. You've been found with 2 handguns, ammunition, petrol, all the other bits in the car, which then they ask her, Catherine, have you asked the person in question what the guns were for? Who were they intended for? What was the use of them?
Yeah.
And she has deflected on that, and that's where she shows a little bit of the
political answer,
where she just turns and goes, "Well, look, this lady's privacy has been infringed upon.
Yes,
it is not correct." It was like, I'll be honest, I'm interested to know that.
Yeah,
it's like, why?
What was the purpose? Because that changes the
yeah. If it was for fox hunting, that would be
go shoot some foxes.
Yeah, it'd be a very different answer. Heather, you wouldn't have a problem with that, would you? Yeah. I think that's what she should have said if I was the campaign manager, which I shouldn't be.
Yeah,
because that would have been my answer.
That would have been a good twist.
It would have been very funny.
Yes,
and it would have ruined your campaign.
Yeah, but I suppose the question from that is, do you think people can be rehabilitated from prison? And I would think for politically motivated stuff like that, and I'm a little bit biased, I guess, but that's because this question then becomes later on, it's like, oh, what about someone who assaulted or someone charged with sexual assault crimes? I think that's a completely different strand of, if you've been imprisoned for sexual harassment, for rape, that's a completely different strand of your character than you can see, or at least I can see someone getting caught up with something where you're very, very politically motivated. And you go to, make the misguided step to get weapons and do something for a political cause. I can much more easily see a path where someone like that could be rehabilitated and use their, political motivation in some other work where they can do some good. Whereas you can't see a path where someone who's been arrested for rape 10 years later is like, you know what? I'm going to get involved in local politics.
Yeah, what are you going to go do around? Go to all the rape crisis centres, be like, hey, look, I used to be raped.
Yeah.
So
I can see it from both sides.
Yeah, I'm better to talk about this than anything.
Yeah, exactly. That's just, and I think that the two of them are getting muddied, but one of them makes sense to me. Yeah. And I understand
it was
for love.
Crazy. I don't know who actually asked that question. I should have looked up. Yeah. It was a Gript or was it the Ditch or someone? I don't want to, it could have easily been the Indo. It could have been, so I don't want to get into that. But look at me giving a political answer.
There you go.
But I think piggybacking off of that line of questioning and that topic to then just go into, well, what if someone was a rapist?
Yep.
And because her point is about reforming your in rehabilitation, your time in jail, that to use that as a stick to beat her with, that when you know that realistically everyone's answer to that is, of course not.
Yeah.
But when you say, look, jail is there for reform and rehabilitation, and you can't, when people come out of that, having done the time and are now seen as in the eyes of society a better person for it, then you can't instantly be like, but if not, of course, for this and this and this. And she gave a political answer where she went, well, I'd have to just think about this. You'd have to, and she just didn't answer quick enough, or it's whatever. Again, not to get into it, but you go, it does feel a bit unfair that's
I know
we all know that if you've raped somebody, no, you're not ever.
There's something
you're an outcast from society forever. Yeah, and we're not.
But even like murder, you can be like, there's some cases where someone murder is bad. Let's say that on record. But there's some cases you hear people be murdered and you're like, oh, I get it. You're not condoning it. Be like, oh, I understand what would push you to that.
That'll be the quote now that gets you.
Yeah, but but there's never one's ever you've never seen someone on the Late Late talking about why they rape someone. You're like, geez, that's a very good point now. I did the same in that situation. But there's situations.
Farmer Michael killed someone in his car and then goes around selling out gigs across the country and been openly talking about it on morning shows.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, well, fuck, that's if he's you don't know how to feel about it, but right, if people can make mistakes, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a path back from people?
For people who do heinous things, that it's their decision to make and it's a horrible decision, and then something terrible's happened and someone's lost their life. Should you ever allow them back in? Is that acceptable?
But there's allowing
you
people
have to allow people back
into society, and there's allowing them to be like celebrities or politicians, which is a different thing. But I would say, people probably...
But it just feels
like
obviously disagree. But there's a handful of things that you go like, right, well, rape, of course, is you're gone. So, and it would be the same as well for... it's a different thing, but it's like... we just tend to do it anyway as a society. But say like the reason why Bertie could never run for presidency, or even if he was trying, that is like, we all remember, it's like, if you're doing lies about money and fraud and things like that... I know a lot of people
are much more forgiving about that.
They will be, but it'll be dragged up, and you can't, once it is, and you don't have an answer for it, and you try to promote your way out of it. That no, you're done. So there's like, I would personally have that is like, did you knowingly defraud people? Or I'm not saying that's what Bertie did. I don't want to get sued. Crazy that we haven't been, but that there's certain things that you go, no, you as an adult, right? As an adult, you decided to do something reprehensible that you knew was wrong.
Yes.
And in the eyes of anyone with a conscience, evil. And you went and did that. And the only reason you're sorry is because you're caught.
Yeah.
That, no, I don't care. I don't want you part of our society. But then you also have to go, right, well, of course you have to live in society. Like that's, but like, no, to hold a position of power in office, to be a celebrity, to like make money from your personality and whatever.
Yeah.
That's like
exactly. You can go back and like have a regular life.
Yeah.
But these are all moral questions about what you feel, what can be rehabilitated. And I would think that given the history of all the political parties in this country, there's certainly, we talked about like Frank Aiken, and I know it's a different time or whatever, but he killed people. He broke in.
But I mean,
prison.
you walk into the offices of Fine Gael, and right in front and centre, you there.
Big picture of Michael Collins.
Just on the right, actually. But the big picture of Michael Collins.
Yeah.
And you go like, right, so it's very high and mighty of a Fine Gael bat candidate to be turning around to try and smear someone about a gun charge when the face of your, like all of your advertising for the party, even though that he was dead years before the party even existed, is a man who would have ran guns and told people to go kill, like, between, like,
That's the same point we brought up probably in one of the Dev episodes, but if you shoot an officer of the law in pursuit of bringing the country to freedom in 1916, you get a train station named after you. If you do the same thing in 1941, Dev has you executed. There's an awful lot of the gun running ilk of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael politicians. When they did it, it was justified. It was a pursuit of the country. When Sinn Féin did it was wrong and bad and terrorism, which is being, flippant about it. But that is kind of you can see pretty obviously what they're trying to do by linking her to gun charges and Ergu, which sounds scary, like a terrorist organization, and just letting that percolate. And the fact that...
What does Ergu mean? I don't know. I don't speak Irish.
It means rise up.
I shouldn't be president of the country.
It means rise up, apparently, which is, sounds pretty scary. Rising up from where? But a lot of, it's there's a section of the country that just won't vote for Sinn Féin. You can see why they're trying to loop her in with that. The other big things she's being criticised over are her views on Germany, France, America, the UK, our allies in the world, and not being, in some people's eyes, as anti-Russia as we would like her to be.
Yes. Which is also, it's odd that people come out and be like, well, you haven't, you condone one, you don't condemn the other. It's like, what would happen? Because everyone's trying to say, not everyone, again, obviously, but there's a cohort of people who go out there and say in the media, who say that she's a loose cannon, she's a crazy communist. What's she going to say when she becomes the president? And you go, with the same token, hasn't condemned Putin. But then you go, she's liable to say anything. She's crazy, but also has been relatively parliamentary with the language about that.
Yeah.
So although I believe, I would hope anyway, because I'm not going to say who I'm voting for, or if I do, or if I'll spoil it. But
we know you're voting Jim.
Yeah.
People who are watching this can tell you're wearing your Jim Gavin 2025 t-shirt.
I like the fact that there's 2 points. The lad kicks a ball over. I think
it's rehabilitated the game.
Yeah.
People are interested again. Yeah. Why? Yeah. I don't know. But then
the Aleppo stuff really comes down to whether or not she has
so she went on a fact-finding mission to Syria.
She said as well that she'd paid for it herself, although it came out then that it was paid for by the government. But then she countered that by saying that, well, it's part of my allowance that I'm allowed to spend on like fact-finding, personal trips, whatever. That was one you did really. Oh God, why did you say that? Why did you say? You should say it was like I'm a lot at all of this. I don't even spend most of it, and when I have done, I've gone over to learn more about about problems in other parts of the world. That wasn't great, but also it's another one where sometimes if you try to beat someone with a stick like that, and everyone goes, well, what is it? That was her salary and part of her money, and she used that. It's an allowance for it. And she hasn't used all of it all the time. You go, okay, well, maybe it's not as bad. It's not as bad as owing someone 3,300 quid for rent outside of your politics. But it was stupid of her to say that I paid my own money, although it is part of her salary.
Yeah. But everything she did,
everything she
does
says when
is
she was
taxpayer
there,
money, because that's her only source of income.
Exactly. Yeah.
So she buys a Freddo, they're like, but that's wasting government money on chocolate.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, this is, I guess, a harder one to wrap your head around than €3,300. That's pretty clean cut in terms of presidential scandals. But in 2018, she went to Syria, and she said that she has never ever hesitated in her utter condemnation of Assad, publicly and privately. And when she was there, it was a fact-finding mission, and she went to a Palestinian refugee camp near Damascus. I suppose this is the kind of criticism that circles around her, is that she's maybe a bit, in some people's eyes, too anti-West, as in anti-America, France, the UK, and Germany, and because of that, slides a bit too much towards
the other side.
The other side, which people giving out about America, and rightfully so, deserves a lot of criticism, but they kind of then gravitate towards apologizing for Russia, Iran, Syria, because the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah, which I wouldn't necessarily agree. I wouldn't say not necessarily. I wouldn't agree with.
No.
Yeah,
but I can see if I ran for president, people would be like, "Well, why did you go to Iran in 2019?" And there could be, obviously that was, I think it was right before. There was massive riots.
I wanted to see the Bobby Sands burger.
Yeah. But there's a kind of, you're interested in those sort of places because they're a bit different. I don't in any way agree with the Iranian government then or now, probably. Then or now. I mean, I think we left and there was then massive riots all around the country over...
You get your ESTA visa rejected one time and all of a sudden you become a fuck.
Yeah, but and people will point out to atrocities happening in America but then use that as an excuse to be like, there's way worse stuff happening in Russia and but
no, it's the whataboutism of that you shouldn't. What was I listening to the other day? It's that new World Cup book coming out. I was listening to the interview about it on the Second Captains, but it was like that these countries have to answer for things that they've done and the beliefs systems that they have and actions that they carry out within their country. They can't just turn around and be like, well, America.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So,
and I know we love doing that, but you can't be like, if you can't, if a country kidnaps a journalist and chops him up, you can't be like, what? There's a school shooting every couple of days in that other place. One doesn't excuse the other. They can both be bad. And, it's not a competition. But
it can be and are.
Huh?
They can be.
Yeah, they are. But that's the other thing, sometimes France does be up to some shit. Sometimes people should be called out, the British government and the American government. It doesn't matter if they're our closest allies, they are... Yeah, she had her comments about Germany rearming, saying it reminds her of 1930s Europe. This is way beyond the remit of the podcast now, but if the AfD, Alternative for Deutschland, is gaining a good bit of traction, or so it seems, in German politics, if they are ramping up and remilitarizing, is it purely to defend Ukraine against Russia, or is there an awful lot of money to be made in rearming stuff? And, is some of that also going towards Israel and their support of that? These are difficult, very difficult topics to talk about. And should they be... these are very...
what they shouldn't have done.
Yeah.
Sent over a fucking group of Schalke fans to kick the head off of that poor lad.
Yeah, that's true. Yes. Yeah. But these are big, topics about... intergovernment policies and the rights and wrongs of militarizing and our place as a neutral country.
But I think that we should have a national discussion about.
For sure.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that I think catching Connolly's scandals or their criticisms and the scandals around her, they tend to be about much more lofty things and about what does this government represent? What does neutrality mean? There's sort of international affairs. Whereas Heather Humphreys just tend to be all the usual grubby shit that everyone's sick of politicians, places not paying vacancy tax, stuff doing favours for...
She's also pro removing the triple lock, isn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's if we're going to have a conversation about neutrality, the podcast was so fun until we got to the end and I was like, God, it actually, as much as we say these things don't matter, we do need a figurehead, a head of state that if they don't necessarily have the power to... it's not the Taoiseach, it's not the Prime Minister.
Yes.
It's but what it is someone who's there to represent the ideals of the people of Ireland.
Yes.
And I think it's fairly clear that the parties have decided to put forward candidates that the people of Ireland aren't behind.
That's true.
And that there's then technically an independent.
Yes.
Ostensibly, they've put forward, or she's gone for, and we're like, right, well, that's the closest thing we have.
Yes.
And when people talk about, fuck it, I'll say it. I probably will vote for it. There's a few more days before this is a Saturday the 18th.
Yes.
And that's why I'm looking at my watch, Kevin. But it's Saturday the 18th. The election's going to be 6 days away. 6 days away. So anything could come out between then.
Yeah.
Who knows? We've not
yeah.
even talked about the Joe Brawley video.
Yeah.
So we don't have time for that. But anything could happen between now and then. I would probably, and it's not just because of the keepy uppies.
Yes.
Although that.
But let's talk. Yeah. So those are the criticisms against her, and then if you go through, so those are the criticisms against both of them, the main ones. I would think that a lot of Catherine Connolly's that maybe she's too. The Enemies with Friends, she's seen as being maybe too pro or not anti enough the powers of Russia, Iran, Syria, places like that.
But is very pro LGBTQ.
Yes,
she plus
and not just saying it now, but demonstrably has been
doing
the whole way back.
Actively campaigning for women's rights. You've seen her over the course of her life campaign for these things that we, and I say all, but I imagine at this stage it's probably become fairly obvious to listeners of the podcast over the last couple of years. We're two big leftist liberal cooks, and nail your flag to the mast or whatever, but you're like, right, that's probably the closest option that we have now at the minute, and that's who I'll probably vote for.
And I'm aware, I caught myself with my own biases the other day of I was reading a headline of what was it? Yeah, polls don't win elections, and I thought whatever way I read it wrong, I thought Heather Humphreys had said that. And I was like, that's a stupid thing to say. You're saying that because you're losing. That's a dumb thing to say. I reread it and realized that Connie said it. I was like,
I think they both said it.
That's actually a very good point.
I believe they've both said it. When
maybe, but I caught myself, like I was sort of, the first thing I was reading in the morning, but I was like, just when I thought one of them said it, I was like, that's dumb. And I realized the other one said it, I was like, it's actually very clever, very insightful. So I realized at this point I've gone, and it is the keepy uppies. We can talk about it now.
But I'll also say
the piano playing,
the ooh la la coffee bit.
Yeah,
I liked that. I thought that was fun. I was like, that's a bit more personality.
Yeah, Heather Humphreys stuff for like, you know, making her a person of the people, having her make a cup of coffee and just do normal people things.
Yeah, instead of talking about constantly saying that I'm a person of the people, show it instead of just having her say it. But
but then on the other hand, you've got Catherine Connolly, and we were talking to
whatever about the keepy uppies. I'll say the aggression at which she was playing the basketball could have came across like, did you ever see when Boris Johnson flatlined that kid playing rugby? Was it? Yeah, and you're like, that looked terrible for him. She was playing basketball going like, I'm not letting these children win. Yeah, and I'm double their size and I want to score here. And I was like, how does that look good? And it does. I'm like, that's fun. It is good. Yeah. But it's like, that's the kind of thing that if I saw someone I wasn't already thinking,
exactly.
Yes, it's cognitive, not, but it's.
I don't know what, it's the sort of thing the PR people just can't, like, you can't fake it. This is now we're just going to descend into Simpsons memes, but it's the JFK drinking Duff. He's like, delicious Duff beer. And then Nixon, like, I would also like to express my particular fondness for that brand of beer.
A man never drank a Duff in his life.
It just seems inauthentic. Yeah. And it's like, even if, like, why does it matter? But it's just cool when she does it, and it seems natural, and it seems human. And yeah, an awful lot of people, if they did it, I'm sure Jim Gavin could do keepy uppies, but if he did it, he'd be like,
I don't know.
But even if he could,
as a GA man, he'd have no call, no.
But like, everyone's tearing apart a video of him walking through a farm and be like, oh, he closed that gate stupidly, and it's just very
Why wasn't
nitpicky.
He on a football field?
Yeah,
why wasn't he doing that?
That's true. If he had been doing the one thing that, yeah, sure. But no one called out Catherine Connolly.
Watch me hit a couple of dingers.
Yeah,
like, you don't want to get into this. As soon as that came out about the rent, he was like, how about I go to Crow Park and I start kicking 45s. Yeah. And every time I do, it's 2 points.
Yeah. But it's just I think that came out the same day that Jim Gavin stepped down. And then there's a video that came out afterwards where like Catherine Connolly was just playing a piano at the back of a pub. And you're like, that's kind of what the presidency is. Yes. Can you just be a kind of normal, older, coolish, hippie-ish person who will just go around the country doing cultural things? I think a lot of it has come down. This is another cultural reference, but you remember that episode of King of the Hill where Hank is trying to instill the values of democracy to Luann or whatever his nephew is, and it must be like the Texas governor race, and she wants to vote for the first time, but she's voting on who looks the prettiest, and Hank can't have that, and he drags her down to like it must be, I think it's George Bush running for governor.
Oh, yeah, so she shakes his hand.
Yeah, shakes George Bush's hand, and is like, oh, Peggy, the president's hand. He's got a weak handshake.
Oh my God.
his handshake. It's limp.
And like that's a crisis for him, that it's just like purely not in the politics because his handshake is weak. He'd be walked all over by the Russians. But there is something, especially for the Irish president, where it's again, there's nothing you can really do. So it does matter, or it does boil down to just, as stupid as it is, it's just vibes.
Yeah, no, it is.
It's vibes. If someone looks cool and seems nice and seems like they won't say something racist or stupid, or it seems unlikely that she'll have some sort of scandal where it turns out that you stole $3,000 off a tenant. And that's kind of what we've come to be accustomed with Higgins over the last 14 years. And it seems, I would say, that's what we want.
Yes.
And I'd say she's in line now for,
unless,
say, a record-breaking win.
Yeah, and I would hark back to the big referendums that we've had and the way that they went, and realistically, that's kind of the percentage of the people. I don't think it's going to be like 66, but the idea that
it'll be a very low turnout, they reckon.
It's looking like it will be, unless a load of people show up to spoil their vote. But for all the undecided people, it would be maybe they go. I think there'll be a lot of Fianna Fáil people who won't show up to vote at all. Or if they do, that's why people won't go and waste their day and time to go down and vote for Jim Gavin.
No.
There's going to be a lot of people who'll say they're going to go spoil their vote. So I think that realistically it'll be a low turnout, and Connolly will probably take it by like she'll be looking at 55 to 60, and Humphreys will probably come in at 35 to 40.
Yeah. I fucked myself.
I do think it's hard to say because I don't know how. This will be fun to see how many spoiled votes there are.
Yes,
but what we do have to stop is this podcast.
Yeah. So listen, vote for whoever you want, but if you don't vote for Jim Gavin, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Right, good luck.
Shafter.